It's a very sunny day in the laser-scanned Eifel Mountains region of Germany here on V8's Online for this, the Nurburgring 2.4 hour, another round of the Majors Series International Division. Hope you can join us for what will surely be a very interesting race around this historic and incredibly long track in some very easy to drive but hard to master GT3 cars. My name is Reese Gardner. Joining me once again, Mr. Jay Kennedy. Jay, this is going to be a fantastic one for sure.
Sure is. It's going to be a tough one as well. A lot of drivers have struggled to master the Nürburgring throughout the week, managing to get lap times in, but to actually piece a full lap together without incidents and without running off the circuit can be quite difficult, and a few drivers have had a bit of trouble with that, but ended up we've got about 25 odd cars, and it should be a pretty close, intense race throughout.
Yeah, certainly. And of course, the field is dominated by Australia, New Zealand iRacers, but we've also got, of course, a few from the United States and a single person each from Finland and the UK. Actually, two people from Finland now that I bother to scroll down the driver list. So it's looking like a very interesting field for sure. We've got, the usual names that you see at the top in the AusNZ GT racing scene, like Ross Rizzo, along with Christopher Norton and Josh Nowak. But also you've got a couple of people making an appearance from overseas, like Dean Moll, like, of course, John King, and our resident Finns for now, Markus Niskanen and Jonas Vastamäki. So we've got a bit to go until this 2 hour and 24-minute race, 144 minutes, 2.4 hours. And we're racing, of course, on the Gesamtstrecke 24-hour layout, which is basically the entirety of the Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit minus the Mercedes Arena section combined with the historic Nordschleife. And, well, it's going to be interesting to see who can get passes done around the Nordschleife. It's certainly easier around the GP circuit, isn't it?
It is, and we're going to probably see a little bit of strategy come in early on. The guys that have thought about fuel and thought about tyre strategy, they'll be tucking in behind another car, happy to sit there and save some fuel around the Nordschleife and then pounce when it comes time for pit stops. We'll see 2 pit stops throughout the race, but the way that drivers take those pit stops will be very, very interesting. Some guys will split the race up into even 45 odd minute sectors, and other drivers will push it long in the first and second stint and then just have a splash and dash home. It's going to be real tough to see which strategy is going to be the most prominent one and which one will work best. But the guys that play fuel very, very smart are the ones that are going to capitalise in this race.
They certainly are, and you got to factor in the track length when it comes to that as well. This track is 25.95 kilometers long, 170 turns, and a lap around here takes a bit over 8 minutes if you're one of the fastest guys in the field. So basically, if you pit one lap later than your opponents, it's not a case of a minute and a half. It's a case of nearly an entire 10-minute period.
Yeah, exactly. So you almost want to use that pit stop to your advantage, and you want to be the guy that's taking advantage of everyone else in regards to fuel strategy. So we'll see how it plays out, but there'll be a few teams that haven't thought too long and hard about fuel strategy, and there'll be other guys that'll be quite happy sitting and tucked behind a few quicker guys and saving a few milliliters of fuel here and there, undercut at the final stop.
Yes, indeed. It will be interesting to see how that goes. Well, drivers are out in the practice session right now, obviously times being set, and we can get a little bit of a feel, I suppose, for what this track is going to race like. Of course, the last couple of times we broadcast races on the Nürburgring, Jay, it's been in the midst of a 24-hour race where everyone has been spread out after about 12 hours worth of racing. But here we get to see an entire race from start to finish. So lap 1, very interesting to see what that brings.
Yeah, it's actually going to be my first time ever watching a race from start to finish at the Nordschleife. So it's going to be a new experience for me. As you said, we normally jump in midway through a 24-hour race, or even 6 or even 4 hours in. We've missed the crucial bits at the start, and That's where it's going to be the most exciting in this race. A little bit more of a sprint race feel, as much of a sprint race as you can have at this circuit. So it's going to be really interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how it all plays out, and strategy is going to be key for sure.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, the Nordschleife, built in the 1920s, obviously, and there isn't really much thought given to creating overtaking opportunities in tracks from that time period. So a lot of the turns, they're very much single line, very much dependent on the driver. And of course, you've got very minimal runoff. So if you make a mistake around here, you're going to be straight in the wall. So it's going to be paramount, I suppose, for drivers to take it easy around the Nordschleife, especially on lap 1.
Yeah, you're exactly right. But the thing too is that few drivers are probably going to be quicker in certain sections over others. So we're going to see drivers that are really, really fast through the GP circuit, or even the starting point of the Nordschleife. And then the second half of the lap, another car is going to be quicker. So we're going to see a real mixed up field. We're going to see the gaps between cars ebb and flow throughout the entire stint as well. It's going to be a real interesting dynamic and how this race will pan out. We could see gaps stretch out to 5 or 6 seconds between cars. Within a few corners, it'll be back down to no time at all.
Exactly, and you know, a track like this really highlights the differences in performance between iRacing's GT3 cars. Of course, the Mercedes seems to be the fastest overall. Looks like, at the very least, 3 or 4 of the top 5 cars, if not the whole top 5, are Mercedes. But you've got Jonas there in 6th place in the Ferrari. So those straight lines, they definitely bring the advantage to cars like the Mercedes and the Ferrari, but look out for the BMWs in the really twisty sections, like from Carousel onwards.
Yep, Ross Rizzo out in front. He is driving in that BMW, which we've seen him do very, very well in the Oceanic Sprint Championship, GT3 Championship on Wednesday nights here on V8's Line. He's been doing a very, very good job as winning the first championship in that, and going on at the moment, leading in Season 2, but going to start this one from 3rd. Josh Nowak will start this race from pole. Gap times between Nowak and Rizzo in this session, the warm-up session, around about a second between them, so fairly close around this circuit.
Yeah, it certainly is. And when it comes to race time, I think you'll definitely see a lot of that ebb and flow that you were talking about, Jay. Another thing that I just want to note before we go into the race session is the difference in grip between the Grand Prix circuit and the Nordschleife. You'd think that the Nordschleife would be the lower grip surface because, of course, it's older. It's it's been there for longer. But the Grand Prix circuit actually seems to have less grip than its bigger, older brother up north.
It's a bit strange, though. You're exactly right. You'd think that the GP circuit, especially as well being a Formula 1 circuit, it would be high grip. But yeah, very, very different how much grip there is between the two different sections of the circuit. So that may catch some drivers out who probably haven't practiced as much as others. But be interesting to see how that all plays out as we get the checkered flag for warm-up. About ready to get this one underway.
Yes, indeed. 0 seconds, 0 minutes on the time, and we will move through into this 2-hour and 24-minute race. So let's take a look at the grid. So Josh Nowak is going to start on pole with Christopher Norton in 2nd. Ross Rizzo starting in 3rd with Ashley Lear in 4th and John King in 5th, our current points leader for the international division of the majors. Jake Fox in 6th with John Roberts in 7th, Marcus Niskanen in 8th, 9th Adam McLeod, and Alexander Sheridan rounding out the top 10.
In 11th position, we have Trevor Mack. Alongside him will be Jonas Vestmarki. Butchered that name, no doubt. Marco Pentainen in 13th. Then we've got Andrew Whitehead in 14th, Martin Hewson and Daniel Stevens 15th and 16th, with Dean Mole, Jonathan Ben, Adam Young and Joseph Cardamone rounding out the top 20.
Yes, and rounding out your field, Robert Northway, Ray Partridge, and a late sign-up, Cameron Dance. We'll see where he is at the end, because every time we've seen Cam starting down the field in a V8's online broadcast, he's usually way up by the end, isn't he?
He knows how to work his way through a field, so don't be surprised to see that car starting way back in the field, working his way forward throughout this race as we get ready to move away. A fairly short run to the green flag, which is probably quite pleasing for a lot of these drivers. They wouldn't want to do too much of a lap to warm up, but a lot of work between that short run from the green flag into what is a bit of a chicane for turn 1 with the GP layout and down in the arena section. It's a very, very tough turn 1 area, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of contact.
Yeah, it's a completely blind turn, that one, so it's difficult to sight your line through there. The second turn, the left-hander, is actually a lot tighter than it initially seems, so you've got to be really careful through that section. And if you're making your way through in the middle of a 23-car GT3 field, you really need to be careful. So the drivers making their way down to the start-finish line section of the Nordschleife, but instead of going right, they will go left, or stay straight ahead and go straight onto the Grand Prix circuit. So Josh Nowak is going to lead the field away as the pace car pulls into the pits, waiting for the call, and Nowak has decided to go, and he has gotten a very good run there onto the start-finish straight. The 2.4 hours of Nürburgring is underway, and Ross Rizzo already attacking the back of Christopher Norton.
Yeah, Rizzo looking to pounce and capitalise while the field's bunched up. Have a look at the big dive there from John King, and he's going to have to cut the chicane, and he will get a very, very big slowdown. That was very aggressive, and just beside him, Jake Fox.
Oh dear, we got spinners.
A car around. Hardamone.
Yeah, and Markus Niskanen as well around, so that's not optimal for those guys. Have a quick look at what happened there. It looks like Niskanen was just stuck on the outside of turn 1, and he was just hitting the back by Vastamaki, which spun him around. Just part of the conga line, the accordion effect coming into turn 1.
Got a CPR replay, and we'll see if we can pick up exactly what happened there. And pretty much innocent bystander. That just happened from that little bit of build-up from King's big miss of the apex at turn 1. Unfortunate for Niskanen, but he is going once again. Dance and Partridge have left the pit lane. They are now out onto the circuit. We have all 23 cars out on track. Out in front, Nowak leads Norton, Ross Rizzo in third. They've dropped Ash Lear, but the front 4 have dropped everybody else.
Yes, indeed, and update from the stewards, Joseph Cardamone has been black flagged as a result of his part in the turn 1 shenanigans, and the top 4 are now onto the Nordschleife. The grip levels go up a little bit, and now it really becomes difficult to try and sight a pass on your opponent. Have a look at the top 3 there. Ash Lear has fallen back quite a bit, it seems.
He has. He's lost around about 2.5 seconds in the first 4 odd kilometres of the circuit. There's a pretty big gap to lose already. In saying that, he's already gained a second since we've got onto the Nordschleife.
Yeah, Christopher Norton just ran wide through Hartzenbach. Back of him now. Problem is, this is a big straight line section where the BMW is not really at an advantage. They're going to come up over Flugplatz here, where the cars often go airborne. At least they did in the era that this scan of the track dates from. It's been flattened out in real life now. And there you see Christopher Norton just leaving Ross Rizzo in the dust down this huge flat-out section. I'm just seeing Jake Fox and Adam McLeod starting to get a little bit frisky here.
Yeah, we'll start to see a little bit of this too, a little bit of gamesmanship now. But McLeod's a little bit smart. He probably would really ease off the throttle a little bit, save a bit of fuel. This is what we're talking about. When you're tucked up behind like this, you can save a lot of fuel. You can save yourself 3, 4, 5, 6, 10 seconds of fuel, which is very, very possible if you're tucking behind another car for the entirety of this first stint. An easy pass, isn't it?
It certainly is. You know, those are your options that you got to weigh up, I suppose. If you want to try and be aggressive, get the pass done on track, or if you want to just ease up, get the pass done in the pit stop phase. It's difficult if you feel like your pace is at a big a big advantage to everybody else. But it seems to me like these guys have just decided to stay single file again for now. Meanwhile, the leaders are starting to make their way up to Adenau, the village of Adenau. The track passes by.
Probably the more technical section of the circuit too, with countless blind corners and a few corners that almost feel identical as well. You can very, very easily get lost through this section.
Yeah, you certainly can. If it's your first time driving the Nordschleifer, it's easy to become overwhelmed. But you know, most sim racers spend I don't know, the better part of their sim lives lapping the Nordschleifer. So knowing the track off by heart is something that a lot of sim racers can lay claim to. I'm seeing Christopher Norton flashing his lights occasionally in Josh Nowak's mirrors. Bit of an attempt to unsettle him, but doesn't seem to be working so far. Nowak's looking really good up in front.
Saying that, he is closing that gap. It was out to about 1.4 seconds earlier in the lap. It is already down to 7/10, so well and truly back in the draft range. And one of the faster sections of the circuit now too, flat out for around about 14-15 seconds. Good chance for Norton to close that gap down, or we get to probably the most enjoyable section of this circuit.
Yeah, big lift here for that left-hander. That is the scariest turn on the circuit, in my opinion. It's so hard to get right. And then hard braking once again for this second gear corner, and then probably the most iconic corner on the circuit, the one that you've seen in all the photos. All you got to do is just aim for one of the trees on the outside and dip into the concrete, and that is Carousel. Nice and easy out of there. Looks to me like Norton may have gotten a little bit of a jump out of there. Hooking up the throttle out of Carousel is a very nice feeling indeed.
If you get that right, it just absolutely propels you out of that corner. So it's a very, very fun part of the track when you nail it. If you get it wrong though, it absolutely costs you so much time. But these guys look like they've got through fairly unscathed. The front three though, they've already pulled 5.5 seconds on the rest of the field. They are just storming away from the rest of these guys.
Yeah, they certainly are, and they're staying relatively stable as well, I suppose. But back in the field, we're starting to get a little bit crazy. I actually noticed that Adam McLeod ran wide out of through Carousel. Sorry, he didn't actually get into the banking section, so that really slowed him up. And in the midst of this battle between him, Jake Fox, also Trevor Mack, Alexander Sheridan, Marco Penton, and Martin Houston involved in this chain of cars as well. Through this section of the circuit, it could get interesting.
Yep, could for sure. And going to go back to the lead though, because it is on. Norton is now right on the rear of Nowak. Nowak's under a bit of pressure now.
Yeah, and it looks like he's got a little bit of damage on the front of his car. It looks like he might have just hit a curb the wrong way.
Far off hitting the absolute fastest part of the circuit though, and Norton's this close when we get down to the big long straight. He could take the lead at the end of this lap. It's big slide for Nowak. He's destroying those rears.
Yeah, he certainly is. Through the mini carousel they go once again, and looks like, oh man, that turn's basically impossible to get right. There's no optimum line through there, but it's all about your exit through this turn here, and Nowak seems to have gotten it right in the initial phase, but will he get it right out of here? Just touching the grass, and now they're out onto the straight. The drivers will be able to see the castle of the village of Nurburgring in the distance. And Josh Nowak will be looking in his mirrors with a little bit of trepidation, I feel, because Norton, you can see, is really searching for that draft, searching for a place to get by.
Rizzo will be quite happy to be in the draft because this is the section. Here we go. Here comes Norton. This is the section where the BMW really will struggle, these big long straights. But Norton now really attacking the back of Nowak's car. Not quite close enough to get a move done, though.
Nah, no. It's by the time you come up to that braking zone, it looked like he just ran out of time to try and make that move in a straight line. So now they come around to end the first lap, and we get to start all over again for the next 8 minutes.
8 minute 9 lap for first flying lap. That's pretty good pace.
Yeah.
for a albeit rolling start. It's still very, very good pace. Back in the field, we're actually seeing Martin Houston coming into the pits.
Wondering what that's for.
Cameron Dance has already passed 5 cars. He started in 23rd. He's already up to 18th. Had to watch him move his way through the field. Doing a pretty good job so far. Cardamone in the pits as well.
Yep. Oh, and Christopher Norton just ran a little bit wide, sorry, on the Grand Prix circuit. You can see the top 3 have really closed up once again. Seems like the Grand Prix circuit brings everyone together in a way that the Nordschleife can't quite do.
And that's what we were sort of talking about before. You're going to see guys really ebb and flow in this battle. Certain sections of the track are going to be stronger for one driver over another. One driver's going to have the car set up for one section of the circuit over another. And we're going to see the BMW versus Mercedes strengths and weaknesses really come out throughout these laps as well. Unlike other races where we'll see gaps sort of stay stable throughout an entire lap, the gaps will ebb and flow so much every single lap.
Yeah, they certainly will, and they're just coming up to the end of the Grand Prix circuit now. Have a look at how much more aggressive Christopher Norton is on the brakes through there. Seems like Nowak got the exit down pat, though. Rizzo really searching. Norton running wide. He comes back in for the apex. See what happens through Hartzenbach. Rizzo seemed really strong through here.
Rizzo looks the strongest of the 3 through this section of the circuit, doesn't he? He looks like he's got that BMW absolutely settled. But nowhere to pass here, though. This is really tough for Rizzo, being 3rd car in the train. He's got to try and find a way where he can get through. Can't get through. He's got to save fuel and jump them in the stop. We do know that the BMW does have that little advantage at the pit stops, though. So.
Oh, Nowak just caught the grass, and around he goes. So that's the lead lost. And now it's a two-way battle for the lead between Norton and Rizzo.
Oh, watch out with this rejoin. Got to try and get it back straight. Done a great job. That is very, very difficult to do with so many blind corners. Manages to get it out on circuit. He has lost 5 spots, 6 spots from it though. And we'll get a CPR replay and pick up exactly how that all came to be.
Yeah, it looks to me like he just went too far over to the left trying to set up for that final S-bend, and unfortunately the car unloaded on the rears. There was nothing Nowak could have done there.
Just an absolute bystander there. Just rear left just clipped the grass, and Norton nearly made contact into the rear of Nowak's car then too. So lucky to avoid him. But we come back live. The lead is on between Norton and Rizzo, because Rizzo now hassling the back of Norton's car.
Yeah, he's really managed to stay with him nicely through those sections, hasn't he? And Norton flashing his lights at nobody, it seems. Rizzo, though, all he needs to do for now is just stay in the draft, save a bit of fuel. If he can make the pass, then fine, but Norton will be able to get back at him with the superior straight line speed of that Mercedes. They're coming through a part of the circuit where the BMW is once again very strong, though. And this is a part that you can very easily get wrong, that little S-bend before this miss turn. Those very high curbs that if you even so much as look at them the wrong way, they will put you in the wall.
Yeah, it's a track that absolutely doesn't care who you are. It doesn't show you any respect unless you respect it first. And there's so many sections of the circuit where you can make tiny little mistakes and they will absolutely hurt you. And you just saw Rizzo made a little mistake and he's lost a fair chunk of time then. Not quite out of the draft, but he's not going to be able to close up down this long acceleration zone.
Yeah, certainly not. He's going for that tighter entry line than Norton is, and it seems to have worked out well for him down here. He's in draft range.
Oh. Sorry, Rex, I've got a car around. Ray Partridge facing the wrong direction. We'll pick up a CPR replay and pick up what's happened to Partridge, but back in 21st position at the moment. We'll see if we can pick up what's happened to him.
Looks to me like he just got caught on the very dusty outside line of the circuit, and around he went. Oh, and Robert Northway stopped on circuit. It looks like he's had heavy contact with the wall.
Just getting a CPR replay.
Oh,
Pick up what's happened with
that was
Northway.
a big hit.
See him come past the scene of Partridge incident, and
It looks
Jake
like he just
Fox has
completely
also
missed his
stopped out
braking
on
point.
circuit. The Jake
Oh,
Fox,
really?
the 08 car, is also stopped out on circuit. We'll get a replay of that after we finish this replay with Northway. Getting back underway again. Oh, yeah, big contact for Northway. That's definitely hurt that car. We'll stay with our CPR replay. And Big Fox with the car of...
That's Trevor Mack there.
Behind him, yeah.
Looks like he did something similar to what Noack did, yeah.
Oh, big slide, and unfortunate for Mack making contact. There definitely wouldn't have been any intent in regards to making contact. And, another unfortunate incident. We've had a few, all within the space of a few seconds, where we've seen probably a slight little lapse in concentration, but Fox is really struggling with that car now.
Yeah, he certainly is. That's it's not looking good for Jake Fox. That little bit of contact there with Trevor Mack certainly would have knocked his suspension a kilter. So the problem is with this track is it's so long. There's nowhere to go if you end up with heavy damage on a far part of the circuit. You have to make it all the way back to the pits if you want that car repaired. Otherwise, you stand to be waiting for quite a long time for that tow.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And the other thing with that too is if you are trying to get out of the way of other cars as well, if you do have damages.
Oh,
Rizzo.
Oh.
Rizzo, that was a big moment for him. He almost ended up in the fence. The other thing too, if you are a little bit damaged and trying to get out of the way, there's not a lot of area where you can run wide and let another car through. So you've got to be careful of that as well. But that was a big moment for Rizzo.
Yeah, it was a big moment for Norton as well, actually. He almost spun himself going through mini carousel. So both of the leaders making mistakes there.
Go replay and have another look, because these guys are absolutely pushing it at the moment. They are trying to break away from each other. Norton trying to break the draft because he knows if he can, he might have enough to get away from Ross Rizzo. Rizzo trying his darndest to stay in the draft.
I tell you what, we might have a pass on very, very soon between John Roberts and Josh Noack here. Noack, of course, making his way back up after his incident. He is within the draft of Roberts, but will he go for the move here? I don't think so. Looks like he'll just stay behind until such a time as he can get by on the Grand Prix circuit.
Probably think dive bomb into turn one would be the most likely as first realistic lap times start to come in. Ashley Lear posting the fastest legal lap time, 1:18. An 8:13. Lead drivers have done 8-minute 12s, but saw how aggressive they both were.
Yeah, certainly.
Noack not able to get a move done. I'm actually a little surprised in that. I thought he would have been able to get something happening into turn one, but not able to do so.
Yeah, it's interesting. Maybe he's just not feeling as confident in his car after that spin. You know, there's the psychological factor as well that you got to consider. Once you, if you're in the lead of a race and you spin out of it, it's really hard to continue the race without feeling like you're doing something very wrong, and that can really affect your driving. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's what's happening to Noack right now. Either that or he's just biding his time.
Possibly even wanting to save a tiny little bit of fuel and mix up the strategy. You could even do that short stint at the start, get a little bit of damage repaired, get back out there. But interesting to see what happens with Noack, whether he can get a move done on Roberts. We go back to the front though, because Rizzo is once again back on the tail of Norton, and this is where that BMW looks so much stronger than the Mercedes.
Yeah, looks like, you know, Rizzo just looks to be a bit of a specialist at the Grand Prix section of the layout in that car. Norton is really doing all he can to try and keep that Mercedes in front through this section, but Rizzo behind him, you know, the superior mid-corner grip of that BMW just really shows through Hatzenbach, which is the section we're looking at now.
so much more stable, doesn't it? Just looks like he's got it so well gripped up. Go back to Roberts and Nowak, because Nowak now is right on the tail of Roberts' Ferrari. It's going to be tough for him to get a move done around here, but
another slide.
These guys are pushing it. I'm impressed with the levels that these guys are driving at. The commitment levels are way up there.
Yeah, certainly. I don't think it's 100% due to commitment, though. I think a large part of it might just be due to the severe mental energy needed to do a lap around this place. There's so many corners to remember, so many lines that you got to keep track of. It's very easy to have a little bit of a mental blank for a second and make a little bit of a mistake.
Yep, you're exactly right. It is a very, very draining circuit. 144 minutes of racing will really test the driver's mettle and test the limits of what these drivers have, and they can make it the whole way through the race unscathed, or relatively unscathed. That is a pretty big achievement. So, and here comes Nowak trying to look to make a move, force a mistake out of Roberts right now.
Yeah, you can see Nowak really aggressive on corner entry through here, and Roberts just running wide. This is going to give the advantage to Nowak on the exit, but it seems to me like Roberts has just managed to hook up the traction just well enough to keep Nowak behind him for now, but you can see Nowak is really looking for that passing maneuver now. So Roberts coming up now to another potential passing opportunity, but the track is still very narrow through here. If you want to make a pass through here, well, you can always wait for something like that to happen. Yeah, Roberts unfortunately collected by Nowak there.
Fortunate for that. Again, no intent at all to make contact. It's just that the track is so narrow and so single line that you often can't avoid it. And see that Nowak did open up the wheel to try and avoid contact, but wasn't able to avoid it completely. I actually looked to go to the inside because he thought that that Roberts was going to stay a little bit higher after spinning, and then had to change his mind on which direction to go.
Yeah, real shame. It just seems like I feel like it's very easy to sort of lose track of what the rear end of your car is doing around a place like this.
Yep, exactly right. It's very, very tough to understand A, what your car is doing, and then B, try and work out what your opponent is doing and what the guy you're trying to fight and battle with, what his car is doing, especially in a situation like that. As we look now to the battle for 8th and 9th between Trevor Mack and Alexander Sheridan. These guys starting to close up a little bit. Actually, going to go just ahead of those guys. Because McLeod looking to get a move done here.
Yeah, Vastamaki, a bit of a sitting duck in a straight line here at the moment. Don't think he got a very good exit out of Bergwerk. So, there we go. Tiny bit of a slide from Vastamaki, and that's really brought McLeod into the picture now. Unfortunately, he has nowhere to go. Vastamaki positioned his car perfectly there, right in the middle of the circuit. No space for McLeod to go by. And so he stays ahead for a few corners longer. I tell you what, it's really brought Trevor Mack and Alexander Sheridan into the picture right now.
Yeah, true 4-car battle now for 6th position. We were going to look at 2 separate battles. Oh, McLeod!
Oh, there we go. And that is one of the dangers of the carousel. You can't go too far down because, of course, there's a little bit of a shoulder at a bit of an opposite angle to the carousel. You put your wheel on that and around you go. And that's what McLeod had.
Unfortunate for McLeod. He was doing a good job applying some pressure, and yeah, pressure's now well and truly lifted, and see if he can come back, work his way forward. But tell you what, Cameron Dance has gained another few spots out of all of this. He's now up into 12th. He's gained half the field, or he's passed half the field in this race. Starting in the pits in 23rd. Now already up into 12th. He won't be far off potentially getting himself into the top 10.
Yeah, that's slightly crazy, that is. And, you know, Cam, what he's been doing there is just keeping the car on the track. You'll notice that he doesn't have a single scratch on that Ferrari, which is pretty significant. Now he's pressuring Niskanen and Roberts here for position. So It's certainly going to work out well for him here. Once again, we talked about, you know, giving the track respect before, and that's a prime example of such.
Yep, you're exactly right. You have to understand the circuit, just treat it with respect. Don't push too hard, especially too early in the race. Amazing things can happen at this circuit. We've seen already how quickly this circuit bites. I'll tell you one thing that's amazing about this circuit too. It's only green
Sorry,
flag
Jay.
a couple of seconds ago.
Ross Rizzo's actually catching
Oh, here
Norton
we
in the
go.
draft. He's gone by.
Well, there you go.
Big
Norton's got
problem
out of
for
the
Norton,
throttle.
actually.
Norton got out of the throttle there.
Yeah, I think I'm rewinding just to see what happened, because
He's got damage to that rear wing.
Tell you what, yep, rewind, Jay, because he actually went off and into the wall earlier on.
There we go. So that's very, very game changing.
Certainly is, and in fact, Rizzo almost got by him, but he was not able to until the straight. So that's once again the leader making a mistake, and that's resulted in a change for the lead once again. So Rizzo in position 1.
Go, finally can get a CPR replay of the incident. I did cut away to those guys because they were looking like they were getting closer, but I did miss the incident. Yeah, fairly heavy contact there for Norton. Interesting to see how far Rizzo can break away now that he has got in front.
Yeah, it looks like Norton's not letting him go quite yet. Seems like he's just able to keep up through the faster sections of the course. But I feel like Norton might use this opportunity to save a bit of fuel, get his car repaired a little in the pit stop. Either way, back to what you were saying before, Jay.
I've lost my train of thought now.
Something about flags?
No, can't remember.
Green?
Oh, yeah, what I was going to say is it only just went green flag and we're already 25 minutes into this race.
Yeah, certainly. We're on lap 4 now, and yeah, we're well and truly into the remaining 2 hours of the 2 hours and 24 minutes. Have a look at how much Rizzo has gained on Norton there. That's incredible. Norton's straight line speed is really hurting right now.
Yep, he's definitely down on pace, and straight line speed is the one thing that Mercedes has over the BMW. So if it's down on straight line speed versus the BMW, it is really going to start to struggle now. We're also seeing a few cars in the pits as well. John Roberts has been in, get a bit of damage repaired and get back out there. So he'll be now running the alternate strategy of the short stint at the start and 2 longer stints through the middle portion of the race. And also in the pits was Martin Houston and Adam Young. Go back to the battle now for top 10, because Dance and Iskanen, these guys have pretty much been nose to tail since the incident at the start of the race. They're just picking their way through the field now.
Yeah, they
taking one
certainly
spot
are.
every lap. Every lap they're taking a couple more spots, and yeah, this is 10th and 11th.
Yeah, it's actually quite interesting looking through the field, seeing the changes in positions. Looks like nobody except for Jonathan Ben is running where they started.
Yeah, amazing when you look at it. Biggest mover is Dance, up 12 spots. Rizzo up 2. Lear and King up 1 each. Nowak obviously down 4. Bastamaki up 6. Mack up 4. Some big movers the whole way throughout the field, which is incredible to see. We go back once again. Trevor Mack now hassling the back of Bastamaki.
Yes, indeed. So we'll see if he can get the move done this time around. You will have seen Vastamaki's mistake and know that that might be a moment of weakness for him. And at that part of the course, he might be able to attack and get a move done, but remains to be seen. Curbs. I can't get over how high the curbs are in this section of the track. You know, I'm used to driving around circuits where you can attack the curbs a bit, but you certainly can't do it around here.
Definitely not in a GT3 anyway. I'm sure the V8 supercar would enjoy the curbs, but these GT3 cars don't like the big bouncy curbs like this. And yeah, you're right, it's incredible how big they are, especially for such an old school circuit. The big curbs seem like such a modern addition to circuits, but whoa, Mac!
Okay.
That's less than ideal for him. He will have massive, massive steering damage to that car. That was a very, very fast and heavy hit into the wall.
Certainly was, and you know, I can tell exactly what happened there. He went into that S-bend, which, you know, if you get the line right in a GT3, it's flat out, but through the camber, it looked like the rear end of the car just went, and he was unable to get it online for the right turn section of it. Into the wall he went with very big damage. So I feel like that's his pursuit of Astamaki over.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think he'll take his time to get it back to the pits. Time around, he'll get himself a fair bit of damage repaired and come back out and do one more stop later on in the race. But definitely shows the intent was there. He was trying to work on getting a move done, but now he's got to worry about Sheridan behind, because Sheridan closing up very, very quickly.
Yeah, and Sheridan had to actually lift there because of the rate he was catching him, and this section of the circuit is so narrow. Looks like just lifting to let him by there was Max, so Sheridan by, and now he can try and draft up to the back of Astamaki if he dares.
Now Rizzo is out in front. He's now got 3.2 seconds over Christopher Norton. Norton has around about 10 seconds from Ash Lear behind, but Lear obviously no damage to his car. His car probably looks the straightest out of all of the Mercedes in the field. He's doing quite a good job at the moment. We saw Ash do a very, very good job at round 1 of this series at the Daytona 2.4. Up a second in Audi class. And our championship leader in this series, John King, sitting in 4th. Now got to worry about his teammate, who is closing up rather quickly from behind after leading the first portion of the race. Noah closing on King pretty quick.
Yeah, he definitely is, and Nowak has done very well to recover from his spin earlier. Looks to me like, yeah, the car still has damage on it, but Nowak has lost very little of his pace. So I don't know what the deal is going to be when these guys eventually get close. They might want to try and work together, see if they can try and get up to the back of Lear, possibly get these cars onto the podium. They've got the time to do it.
It's going to be interesting because the team strategy will be a real interesting dynamic, because you've got the championship leader versus the car that qualified on pole and is probably the fastest car out on track, looking at the pace that Nowak's got. So it's going to be really interesting to see what these guys do when they come together, because it's not a matter of if, it's when. Nowak, of course, another championship contender as well. King, we know, leading the championship. Nowak's doing a pretty good job. He's currently in 5th, so not that far behind.
Yeah, certainly not. And it looks like Nowak, I could see him just catching up to King little by little through that long right-hander coming onto the back straight. He is in the draft, and I get the feeling this is going to be done before the bridge.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's not going to be too hard to work. King likely to just going to lift off the throttle before the corner if it hasn't already been done. There you go. You can hear lift off there, and through goes Nowak. He'll take 4th spot. King drops back to 5th, and I wouldn't be surprised if these two stick nose to tail and try and close up that 3.9 seconds to Ashley Lear up the road as Ross Rizzo just posts the fastest lap of the race. 8-minute 9.5.
Yes, indeed. Doing very well is Mr. Rizzo. Wait to see what kind of times everyone else does. Nowak doing an 8:10.711. So looks to me like Nowak is the second fastest car on track at the moment.
Cameron Dance has just got through now up into 10th position.
Well, there we go. That's quite the run that he's got right there. So finally, by Niskin and Trevor, Mack goes into the pits. That's going to give Dance 9th.
No surprise with Mack coming in with that damage he
Yeah.
sustained earlier in the lap. A replay of the pass, you just see the CTL Esports Ferrari tucked in under the rear wing of the Mercedes. Rounds him up around the outside and moved on.
Yes, indeed. And as we go back live, Jay, Christopher Norton's made yet another mistake. He's gone off into the tarmac runoff area on the Grand Prix circuit. He's really not got that car under him. I'm actually surprised that Norton hasn't come in yet to get that damage repaired. They do have a fast repair, don't they?
Yeah, they do have the ability to grab a spare car and get back out there. So, as you say, very surprising that he has not done that yet. In saying that, he might be trying to save it for a little bit later in the race, push on with the hard stuff early on and make the job a little bit easier on the later stage of the race. But it is always a risky ploy doing that. Could easily find yourself in the wall and out of the race. So maybe see him in next lap. But we're now on lap number 5 of what looks like it will be an 18-lap race. Amazing to think that we're doing a 144-minute race and we're only going to do 18 laps, isn't it?
Yeah.
It blows my mind, this circuit.
Yeah, it never quite gels with us, does it? The fact that, you know, these super long circuits, like when motor racing first started, all you used to race on were circuits that were tens and hundreds of kilometers long, you know, going around cities and stuff like that. And I suppose out of all of the circuits that are of that length, the only two remaining in any form are this track, the Nurburgring, and Le Mans. So if you talk about laps like well over 2-3 minutes in length, it does get a little interesting talking about lap numbers, because there's something in your brain that goes, wait, no, that can't be right.
It always buzzes me out when you look at lap counters and we talk about the predictometer, the prediction calculator of how many laps the race will be, and showing 18 laps when you've still got an hour and 48 minutes to go in a race. Just it doesn't click with your brain properly. So it always feels very, very bizarre and very strange. But Rizzo now very, very comfortable out in front, has an 8-second lead over Christopher Norton.
Yes, he does, and this is a position that we've seen Ross Rizzo in quite a few times over the course of the last few months. He's managed to get himself into a top position, and with his natural fuel-saving driving style, it seems, he's just able to eke that gap out and get himself nice and comfy.
He is very, very good at just working his way through a field and minimising mistakes. May not be the fastest car out on track there, and nearly every race he does, he's not necessarily the fastest car, but he is always consistent, and he just knows how to keep cars out of trouble and capitalises on other people's mistakes. Just does such a great job of it, and definitely a driver to see work his way forward. Interesting, I noticed the other day, I was looking through V8 Scops positions. He finds himself in like 6th or 7th position in V8 Scops. He's had to work his way through Split 2 twice.
Yeah, it is quite bizarre, isn't it? That's I don't know, I guess like the old one-lap pace thing doesn't necessarily translate to race pace, does it?
No, not at all, but you know what, race pace looks good for Josh Nowak. He is closing in fairly rapidly. He's gained about 1.5 seconds this lap on Ashley Lear. And Lear will be starting to see white, black and green Mercedes close up behind, start to get closer. Now down under 3 seconds. Be surprised if Nowak is well and truly in the draft at the latter portion of this lap.
Yes, indeed. And Nowak has got Lear in his line of sight now. Very small, but gradually getting bigger as time goes on. Once again, through that terrifying double apex left-hander. Interesting to see what he can do through this latter section of the circuit before the long back straight. because you got to remember both of these guys are driving the same car, so there's no talk of which car has the inherent advantage here and there.
Well, there is talk, but that's a different talk. Of course, that's a bad pun about the team name that Ash runs for.
Oh, right, okay. I was going to say, what does that even mean?
Well, the talk car.
Okay.
That was terrible. I'll just go back in my box and
yes.
carry on. But Lear, I know he hasn't done a huge amount of practice for this race. He has done a few laps of practice and qualified the car in fourth. So obviously he's got some sort of pace here. But race pace, definitely very, very different. I know Ash's one sole aim from this race was to just finish. If he could finish the race, he was going to be very, very happy with the result. I think finishing in this race, you're going to get yourself a decent result anyway. Yeah,
that's it. Like, the old adage, to finish first, you must first finish, holds true basically the best at the Nordschleife, because there's so many hazards around here. There's so many places where your race can be ended. So if you want to get a good result here, a lot of the time, all you have to do is finish. You don't have to push super hard. You don't have to really attack the circuit like we see guys doing quite a bit at, shorter, more open tracks. It's really working out well for Ash at the moment.
Very, very good job as he runs a little bit wide, but maintaining that around about 3-second gap. Saying that just on cue, it's dropped now down to 2 with that one little minor mistake. And we're going to see Noack now start to close in. Up down the back of the Torque Inc. Mercedes not quite in the draft, but probably a better run onto this big, huge, long straight for Noack.
Yes, indeed. It will be interesting to see the top speed comparison between these guys. Noack is just out of draft range. Looks to me like they're both hovering at around the same point now, but you can see the gap is closing only slightly, but it is closing.
It is closing. It's down to 1.8 seconds, and Noack looks to be a lot more aggressive coming up into the braking zone there too, so probably gained another 10th or 2 to that section as we cross the line to finish lap number 5, start lap number 6. 1 hour 42 remaining, 102 minutes left in this 144-minute race. Gap at the line was 1.8 seconds. About 2 seconds that lap quicker was Noack over Lear.
So it will definitely be on for the podium if this trend continues.
Interesting though. I'm going to say interesting though. Have a look at the lap comparison between those 3 cars. Norton, Lear and Noack. Norton a 15, Lear a 13, Noack an 11. So these 3 guys are all probably going to close up on each other pretty much at the same time. So Norton is now under a fair bit of pressure from not 1 but 2 cars behind.
Yes, indeed, and it's certainly not the position that he wanted to be in at the start of the race. Unfortunately, the incident that he had has put him into this position, so it's very difficult to be in a position like that, but you really just gotta cut your losses, I suppose, and just continue on.
Go back through the field a little bit, and we go to 8th and 9th. Cameron Dance is closing in quite quickly. Now down to 1 second. Last lap around, he was 5 seconds quicker. 5.5 seconds quicker, nearly 6 seconds quicker.
He's really got that car hooked up, hasn't he? Marco is doing very well as well. He's improved on his starting position. He started in 13th and, of course, is now in 8th position. But Cameron has been basically the juggernaut, making his way through the field at an accelerated rate. So Ferrari versus Ferrari at the end of the Grand Prix circuit through this very fast chicane, which was the original chicane on the Grand Prix circuit before it was tightened for Formula One. Have a look at how much Dance has gained on him already. Looks like Dance really has this car set up for the Nordschleifer.
Yeah, he looks very, very controlled, doesn't he? Just doesn't even look like he's working the car at all. He's just driving out there on a nice Sunday drive. It just looks all too easy and all too casual at the moment for Dance.
Yeah, certainly. He's much more aggressive on turn-in, but you don't see him working the car particularly hard on entry. And I suppose that's the hallmark of a car that's set up well for this track, is one with a stable rear end, but also one that's got a bit of a pointy front end, and you're able to just coax it into turns, and you don't have to be riding the brake all the way to the apex to get anything done here. You can see Dance's mid-corner speed much better through Flugplatz, and I think we might see a move done here if Penttinen doesn't put on the defensive move. Oh, both cars going airborne slightly, and it looks like Penttinen is not going to fight that at all, and Dance is now through to 8th.
Drive from Dance now plus 15 from his starting position. Absolutely phenomenal job. Yeah, probably 4th, 5th fastest car out on circuit. Is about 50 seconds behind our race leader in Ross Rizzo. But I don't think we'll see him move too much further forward. He might get himself up to maybe 5th or 6th, but once again, no surprise to us that Cameron Dance has worked his way through the field and keeps gaining spots starting at the back.
Yeah, imagine where he'd finish if he started in more competitive positions.
Right, amazing. Probably be a lot more competitive in a few races. I know that qualifying is definitely not one of his strongest suits, but the race pace from Dance is phenomenal. As we go back to Lear versus Nowak, it is down to 1.6 seconds. So the first portion of this lap hasn't really moved too much, maybe half a second. But Nowak now coming up to the section that he has probably looked strongest throughout this race.
Yeah, certainly. That entire section from Bergwerk onwards, all the way to the end of the lap, is where Nowak seems to have the advantage over his nearest competitors. So going out wide and then bringing the car in for that apex, and the turn just continues a little bit. It's really difficult turn to get right, especially since it leads on to this very long straight section. Well, no, silly Reese, it's not a straight section. There's a lot of bends, but you don't exactly lift off the throttle, do you?
You meant straight as in foot flat to the floor.
Yes.
Hashtag don't lift.
Exactly right.
I knew what you meant.
Yes, I'm sure you knew what you meant, but what?
Yeah, let's keep going.
I'm sorry, I've been delivering food all day. I'm incredibly tired. Excuses, but Nowak really looking good here coming up to Carousel.
Nowak looks really strong here. Probably want to be a little bit closer when they come up to the end of the lap, so he'll try and probably find himself another 2 or 3 tenths, but a little bit of a mistake from Nowak. He's run very, very wide. That's costing him those tenths he needed to gain.
Yeah, that's the thing. That when you come out of the carousel, that transition from the banked concrete back to the tarmac, you've really got to be careful about how you exit that section, because if you keep it too tight, if you don't run over the middle of the circuit at exactly the right time, then the rear end just goes and you just keep turning. You're not able to get the car back online in time. So that's set Nowak back a fair bit relative to where he was before. But we've seen in this section, he is definitely among the best in this field right now.
Yep, you're exactly right. This is where he's looked really strong throughout this race, and wasn't for that one tiny little error. It's been so interesting to see that battle at the front, how it would have unfolded, but motorsport is such a what if and what could have been sport, isn't it? You know, so many factors can change how a race plays out. Is over the hill, a little bit of air, gap still staying around 2 seconds, so Lear probably, if anything, has improved and stretched that gap slightly. Is not what I was expecting at all.
Yeah, certainly. It seems like Lear has probably seen on his relative that Nowak has caught up, and maybe that's flicked a switch and told him, well, you better get on it now, Ashley. Time to defend this position. See what happens down the straight, though. It's all about the exit onto this section.
You want to get on the throttle as early as possible. Carry as much momentum, run out so wide, almost clip the grass, and Noak's done a very, very good job. And like Lear's done as equally a good job, because the speed difference between them is pretty much identical. The gap staying exactly the same. So Lear not losing any time to Noak down the straight here, staying at around about 1.9.
Yeah, that's right. And as with the lap before, Noak is outside of draft range. The draft doesn't really have any noticeable effect in iRacing until you're within, I'd say, about 1.5 seconds of the car in front, something to that effect. So you've got to really work hard to get up into that range.
Get a replay of a little bit of a mistake from Norton as well, because have a look at how close as Noak jumps into the pits.
Yep.
Norton now has Ashley right on his tail. We're just going to get a replay and see. I'm surprised Norton has stayed out.
Yeah.
Thought he would have jumped into the pits, and a replay of what's happened with Norton.
Yeah, that's pretty big.
Just
that was almost complete disaster for him. Well done to hold on to that, but that car is not in good shape. Why haven't you fixed it, Christopher?
Yep, he's obviously thinking about doing this long stint early, get the long, ugly stint out of the way with the horrible car and come home strong at the end, but I don't know if that's the strategy I'd be going for. Noak still stopped, but Lear now, he's in the draft, and he might be able to get past Norton here in the not too distant future.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, on the subject of Norton, I get what you're trying to say, Jay, with the, you know, get the stint out of the way with the bad car. But I get the feeling that if he is to do that, then the time lost by driving a car that is less than optimal, I feel, is too much to be offset by whatever advantage you might gain in the pit stops later. So
I agree.
If I were him, I'd get it fixed as soon as I could and just try and make up time. At the moment, he's losing net time, is Norton.
I agree 100%. I'm surprised that, honestly, just seeing Daniel Stevens has had a bit of an impact into the wall, and he is crabbing quite badly. His MFR Ferrari. We'll see if we can pick up a CPR replay and see what's happened to Stevens.
Well, that's happened just at Mini Carousel, actually. Another classic example of what can go wrong in that section of the circuit. He just entered it a little bit too hot, lost the rear on entry, and once he was airborne over the transition from concrete to tarmac, he was a passenger.
Probably turned in a little bit too early as well, and also Jonathan Ben stopped out on the circuit as well. He's actually stuck in the fence, is Jonathan Ben, so we'll see if we can pick up what's happened to him.
Yeah, and he has escaped back to the garage, so that's race over for him. Again, another turn that's very hard to get right, and it seems like Ben, yeah, that's an easy mistake to make at that circuit. Looks like he took a bit too narrow an entry line, and of course, those big curbs, they really bite.
Yep, they do for sure. Ray Partridge is back out on circuit, obviously with those issues he had earlier in the race, but his car does not look too healthy once again. Crabbing a little bit in his number 88 BMW, so hopefully he still has that spare car available, and when he jumps into the pits, hopefully he can get back out nice and straight once again. But likely see all of our lead cars in this lap. Most cars will go 8 laps maximum. Probably do 9 if they really want to push it, but no real point with how the tyres wear and how the fuel numbers go. Better off just coming in after 7. You do a 4-lap stint at the end. Yep, first to second though, out to 20 seconds. Norton doing a good job holding off from Lear though. I'm surprised that Lear is not closing up on Norton a bit quicker.
I get the feeling that might have something to do with the psychology of the matter once again. When you've been lapping by yourself like Lear has for a very long time with no car in front of you to really distract you, it's just been you and the track ahead of you for some time. When a car eventually does pop up in front of you, it's difficult to try and recalibrate your mind because you're so focused on what they're doing. You often don't have the I don't know, the energy or the time to focus on your own driving and your own lines. So that might contribute a little bit to Lear's pace loss.
We talk about that a lot, don't we? The psychology of being around other cars and then not being around other cars, or being the trailing car and finally getting a position done, and the countless errors that we see drivers make. And exactly right, the same can happen when you're out there on your own and then you finally catch up to somebody. Your brain takes a little while to tick in and go, hang on, I can actually make a move here. Or if I actually find a little bit of pace or maintain my consistency, I might be able to get a move done. And you're already planning a pass before you're even up to the rear of the car that you're trying to or wanting to get past. So, so many mind games, and especially around such a mentally draining circuit like this one. Surprised that we may see a few more mistakes when drivers get in situations like this.
Yeah, certainly. You know, being a sim racer, I suppose being a real race car driver as well is all about being able to fall into a pattern of activity very easily. And once you get yourself set in, set in a pattern of driving and you have your muscle memory doing everything for you, when something happens to change that, it becomes very hard to adapt. But it looks like Lear is slowly starting to catch up to Norton, especially through that section.
Getting a CPR replay of Nowak getting past Andrew Whitehead. Fairly easy move after Nowak's come out of the pits. Fresh boots, full tank of fuel, away he's gone once again, and he's now back out there in 11th position. Lear caught up a little bit and just dropped back off again, so consistency is starting to show once again between both of these guys.
Yeah, I get the feeling maybe Norton is focusing a little bit more on his corner exits, just to try and get as much momentum as he can, preserve as much momentum across the course of a lap.
Oh, Dance stopped. What happened to Cameron Dance? He's around facing the wrong direction.
Oh dear, that's not good.
Out of the carousel, we'll see if we can pick up what's happened. We were saying about how good a job he was doing maintaining consistency, and that's commentator's curse for sure, isn't it?
Oh, I'm fairly certain, yeah. That was a very bizarre spin there.
Oh, it's so slow how it spun as well.
Yeah, what on earth happened there? Usually when a car spins, you hear the revs rise rapidly, but with Dance, it just seemed like he was riding the brakes a little bit or something, trying to get it recovered.
Just a true passenger there. It just went and he couldn't stop it. And yeah, I'm not sure what's happened as we go to the battle for 7th and 8th out on circuit now. And closing up the back of Marco, and this battle is well and truly on for 7th and 8th.
Yeah, certainly is. Tell you what, Alexander Sheridan and Vastamaki, actually, they've been quite achievers in this race. You have the people like Dance who just make their way through the field like it's nothing, but then Vastamaki and Sheridan, they've been doing well, haven't they? They've been keeping it clean for the most part.
Here comes Lear.
Oh dear, yes.
Lear right up in behind Norton now. Not quite able to get the move done, but I'd be surprised if he gets it past Unknown. Lear on the brakes early, so gets out of that. Will we see both of these cars dive into the pits? Rizzo, like he is in the lane.
Yeah, let's have a look at Norton and Lear. Looks like Norton is, and Lear is following him in.
Rizzo has continued on, so apologies there. Rizzo pushing on, so he's going to go one extra lap, and that's the fuel advantage that we've been talking about with Rizzo.
Yes.
Able to save fuel and do it so comfortably. He's going to continue on, and he's going to get 8 laps in this stint. Means he's going to have 4 to do at the end. He's going to have 2 to do at the end. He may even be able to do this on one stop.
Yeah, it's not out of the question. I mean, I did a quick calculation, a assuming a 9-minute average lap time in this race, including pit stops, you'd work out to about maybe 16, 17 laps, I'd say.
Looking, I think it'll be 18 lap race. What predictometer's telling me. I think
Yeah, I mean,
about what I heard before the race. Pit lane starting to light up. Sorry, Reese.
Yeah, well, you know, with even on a predicted 18 lap race, if Rizzo can pit at the end of lap 9, then yeah, he'll be sitting pretty for one stop. So Niskanen and Sheridan, McLeod in as well. Tell you what, Josh Nowak, because he pitted the lap before all of these guys, he's going to pass all of them here.
Yeah, undercut big time for jump on through.
So there we go. Josh Nowak there into turn 1 has managed to get past basically all of these guys.
Yeah, and Lear's gone through on Norton. Lear now into effective 3rd. Norton will drop to effective 4th. Nowak back into effective P2.
Yeah. Indeed. That is quite the jump that Nowak has gotten. So a very good recovery.
Very, very impressive pace that he's had too. So, I mean, in one aspect, I'm not surprised that he's made his way back up in there. Very, very smart play. He knew that he was going to get held up a little bit by Lear, potentially not able to get through. The easiest way to pass in a lot of these races is in the pits. A 1 lap undercut definitely worked out for him. Of course, he's going to take on less fuel in the pit stop, which is pretty much the difference in pace between those two cars. Nowak, great job. He's now back out there. About 11-second quicker pit stop for Nowak over Lear. Lear's rejoined in 7th position. He's behind Trevor Mack, who pitted 4 laps ago. But he, of course, will have a longer stop next time around because he pitted fairly early in this race.
Yes, indeed. Well, the first pit stop phase is just about over. We'll be able to see what the state of play is after that. Basically, we're just waiting on Rizzo to see what he does.
So now with a massive lead of 53 seconds.
Jeez.
Phenomenal. Partridge back in the pits. Number 88 to get more damage repaired, but that car looks very, very unhealthy.
Yeah, certainly. It's a real shame for Partridge. He started in 20 seconds, so in order for him to get up as far as he did, he had to stay out of trouble quite a bit. So real shame to see him with that much damage on the car.
On board with Lear, he's starting to close into the back of Trevor Mack. He's got it down under 2 seconds. When he came into the pits, it was around about 3.5. And Lear with some very, very good pace on this outlap.
Yeah, definitely. I think that the fresh tyres and that full tank of fuel has put the confidence back into Lear's driving, and he's really going for it now, it seems.
Yeah, he didn't get the damage fixed in that car as well. You can see there's a little bit of damage on the bonnet of that car. Pushing on quite well, and you can see how close he's now up to the rear of Trevor Mack, who will understeer central there, though.
Yeah, you don't want to run wide there. I mean, it's that's an interesting corner, that one. You need to, you really need to keep it tight on the curb, but I guess running wide doesn't hurt too much, but it's always better to keep it online. So Lear coming up to the super slow S-bend, very excruciating part of the circuit with those super high curbs. Very easy to lose time through there. Seems like Mack had the advantage over him in that section.
Yep, Mack's pulled another second since we talked about how quickly the gap was closing. It stretched out by a full second, but Lear probably not as smooth at the second part of this outlap, but if you can start to close that gap once again. How
Does
good
he
is
hold
this
it
circuit?
flat? No. Oh, it's incredible. It really is. Like, you know, Jackie Stewart called it the green hell for a reason. It's a very dangerous track that has claimed many lives over the years, but the challenge of it and the I don't know, just the history of it. It's one of those circuits that has a special place in motorsport lore.
Yep. The one circuit that no matter what you race or what you love and what you're into, it's a circuit that you just want to go out there and have a crack at and want to have a drive of. It's a phenomenal place. One that we all love it. Oh, big mistake though for Mac. He's had a big slide. Will he be able to capitalise? And just behind King and Norton, side by side here.
Oh, hello.
Was not ready for that.
Yeah, certainly not. And, it looks like Norton, he switched back on here with this fixed up car and he's back in action. Tell you what, the almost side-by-side action through that curve, certainly not a place where you want to go side-by-side. Look at the draft that Norton has here. Oh, this is dangerous. This is very dangerous. Oh. Norton on the brakes. Goodness me. King's straight line speed is really down. Have a look at that. Norton is just able to... Is King running a lower fuel map or something? Because I have never... Yeah. I've never seen someone go that slow in a straight line relative to another car of the same brand before in that section. So Christopher Norton promptly gets past and John King resumes business as usual.
Norton now 12 seconds behind Lear. So, he's run wide. Good. Here we go.
Yeah, well, he's managed to get some of it back on the exit, but that is not what you want through Carousel. It's the worst thing that can happen in any car around the Nürburgring is that getting spat out of the banking section.
But still, you didn't get spat out into the fence because that quite often happens too when you make a mistake there. You'll end up just slamming that wall.
I'll tell you what, though, Norton, you can tell in the body language of his car, he's got a bit of fire back. You know, that first stint was a bit of a recovery drive from him, and now he's really gotten it back together, and he wants that win, I can tell.
The confidence levels are up. He's motivated. He knows that he's got some pace back in the car. He feels confident. He's ready to go. Got a fairly big task ahead of catching Ash Lear 10.5 seconds up the road, but the way the car is behaving here at the moment for Norton, it is not out of the realms of possibility that Norton could be back onto the tail of Lear in the next 2 or 3 laps.
Yeah, certainly. Really pushing it. I can't wait to see the lap times come in. Oh, yeah. Rizzo in the pits. So we'll see what the other guys do. Alexander Sheridan and Dean Moll in the pits as well. Looks like Vastamaki coming in too. Where is Nowak? There he is, down, coming down the straight. So I think Rizzo
goes away, so fairly safe, I think.
Yeah.
So stop for 45 seconds. Timing is 46.4 second stop for Rizzo versus Nowak. A 54.7 second stop. So Nowak, a little bit longer pit stop than Rizzo. Nowak pitted 2 laps earlier. Amazing.
Yeah. So Nowak's first competitive lap time out of the box, an 8-minute 12.521.
30 seconds behind Rizzo.
Yeah, well,
Amazing.
I mean, yeah, Rizzo seems pretty much untouchable right now.
Now the interesting thing is Rizzo, will he be able to make it home without stopping again? Now nearly at the halfway point in this race, we're about 4 minutes away from halfway. Going to be really interesting to see if he can make it home without stopping again. I'm going to say he'll have to stop with 2 to go. Just to splash fuel. I don't think he... What? Saying that, he's got a bit up his sleeve, so he can almost drop the pace of the race and maybe cut the race 1 lap short, depending on what he wants to do. But Rizzo has it all in his court. It's all up to him as Mac now under pressure from Lear. Lear looking to make a move, or almost contact between Mac and Lear. But Lear looks very, very pacey. Once again, through the GP section, he's looked strong, as he did the lap before.
Yes, indeed. And, you know, I feel like the confidence is a big factor there, because on the Grand Prix circuit, you got more space. You can sight the corners a lot better. There's more room to go off if you make a mistake. So you tend to take a few more chances than you would on the Nordschleife. So Lear versus Mac here. Have a look at how aggressive Lear is through that turn. Really, really big gain, using that that banking to his advantage. Will he be able to get by Mac before the Nordschleife? I don't think so. He seems a bit too far back.
I wouldn't be surprised if he gets it done in the early stages, because the first few corners is where Lear looked really strong as well. And he's just run a little bit wide, a little bit deep, but hasn't compromised his run at all. Lear looks really strong here.
Yeah, he certainly does. The only problem is they're coming up to Hatzenbach now, the opening section of the Nordschleife, which is a series of medium speed S-bends. If you want to put a pass on someone, Hatzenbach is not the best place to try and do it, but you can certainly make time up on your competitors with your car's entry speed, and we've seen that Lear has quite a bit of that. Look at how much he's gaining on Trevor Mack through this section.
And we're coming up to the section where he can potentially get a move done, but he hasn't quite got the exit right. Lost a little bit of ground there.
Yeah, it's all about that exit there. That's where Max seems to have the advantage at the moment. Flugplatz, though. Let's see what they can do.
If they can get a good run here and maintain the speed down this very, very long chute, may be able to get a move done. I don't think he's going to be close enough to get that draft advantage, though. A little tap on the brakes. Up over the rise. Close enough.
No, and running maybe a little bit wider than he could have through there, as did Mac, but still, this battle isn't over yet.
Not at all. Well and truly on it. It's going to be on for the next few laps. We're probably about 3 or 4 laps away from seeing Mac in for his second stop, because Mac has done his shorter stop early, so we'll likely see Mac drop back through the field. Mac pitting on lap number 4.
That was a big gain from Lear through that section. But then once again, it's those faster turns, it seems, that Mac seems to have the advantage in.
It looks a lot more stable, doesn't he? The faster flowing sections, but the stop-start sections, Lear looks really strong.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see how they go through this section, because it seems like it's a bit of a mix of the two.
The gap's staying pretty stable at the moment. If anything, Lear's probably gained a tiny little bit, but not enough to capitalise or potentially get some big advantage. Mac's doing a really, really good job of holding onto this position here. He's doing everything right and everything he should be doing.
Yeah, certainly. Makes you think of where he would be if he hadn't made his mistakes earlier on. Of course, you can say that for just about any driver in this field at this rate.
Not many that have gone through incident-free at the moment. We've seen every driver be in for at least one pit stop in this race. We've seen a couple of drivers being in the lane twice. Past the halfway point in this race too. We've just passed minute 72. 71 minutes and 45 seconds to go in this race. I'm amazed at how quickly this race is flying by. It's been a very, very entertaining race. Very impressed.
Yeah, it's always broadcaster's perspective. It's always a bit of a I don't know. It's interesting going into these big endurance races, because you think, well, you know, what if there's a lull in the action? We're going to have to find stuff to talk about if there's a bit of a lull, if there's nothing happening. But there's always been something to keep us talking here, which, you know, from our perspective is always good.
Yep, always a battle going on, and if there's no battle actually happening at the moment, you can see one potentially lining up, and the battle between Mac and Lear right now is very, very good, but The other thing to watch out for is Norton is closing up on Lear at a fairly rapid rate. It was 11 seconds the last time we checked. It is now down to under 6. So
Oh,
Norton
yeah.
is probably a lap and a half away from being on the rear of Ashley's rear wing. So Norton versus Lear is not over. Mac and Lear is still going on. We're going to have 3 cars fighting for a podium position in the next lap and a half.
Oh, that's really good. And, you know, once again, that just speaks to how pacey Christopher Norton is in this second stint of the race. And, oh, he's still pushing really hard. He's got a couple of nicks on that car, but he is really pushing it at the moment as Norton. You know, I almost completely forgot about him and where he was. You know, so engrossed were we in the Lear Mac battle, but oh, there we go. That's once again Norton. It seems that corner is his one weakness on the track. He always seems to go into there just a little too hard. He's losing time.
He's definitely trying to push it at 107% as opposed to 99% at the moment. He's well and truly above the limit. Pushing it to the absolute ragged edge and probably paying the price a little bit. In saying that, the pace is still good, even though he's making those minor mistakes. Probably a spot there where it actually didn't cost him any time running off the circuit.
Yeah, probably. Of course, that corner is one that you typically see cars going off at. So,
oh, Mac, off the circuit.
Oh dear, and that is Lear by. Oh, it was mini carousel.
Yep. All by himself as well. Just a little bit of pressure starting to come up from behind. I wouldn't be surprised if Mac looked in his rear vision mirror and goes, well, Lear's going to get me here. He's going to have the draft down the straight. And probably a slight little lapse in concentration while he saw Lear closing up, coming up to the big long straight. So, tiny little error. Just enough to run off the circuit. Did a great job to not hit the wall. But Mac now has to try and pull something out to try and get his way back up some position.
He's certainly doing that right, because have a look at how much he's catching up to Lear on the straight.
All draft there. Had to get out of the throttle because Lear with the preferred line, but draft advantage. Big gains for Mac. Oh, and Lear nearly into that wall.
Oh boy.
Amazing how close they get to that wall coming onto the GP circuit. 68 minutes to go in this race.
Wow, you know, and what happened
Ferrari
to Mac
battle.
there?
Nearly bump drafting Dance, almost bump drafting Marco down the back straight and finally gets around. But that was incredibly close. Now they got a true drag race. Dance should be able to get clear with that draft that he had.
Yeah, and now he has the preferred line, obviously. It would be mental to try and go for a pass back at this point on the track.
CPR replay and see. Have a look at how close these two cars were. Almost contact between them as Dance went on by.
Well, I mean, if the draft is there, use it.
Almost used a little bit more than the draft, though. That was the incredible thing about that. But now Dance back through into the top 10 once again. Makes his way forward now, up 13 positions. Another big mover in the field is Trevor Mack. He is up 7 positions from his starting position, P11. He's now in 4th, but that he's probably out of sequence from everyone else in the field, purely based on him having that shorter pit stop first. Here comes Norton. He's now down to 2.7 seconds between Norton and Mack.
Oh, I'm really enjoying this right now. I'll tell you what, that what happened to Mac on the lap before at a mini carousel, that's one thing that you can often fall victim to when you're driving around this place. Problem is, with those two corners, carousel and of course the mini carousel, that have that concrete banking, you really need to make sure that you stay on the inside when going through those turns, because if you enter just a little bit too fast, if you slide up the concrete just a little too far, you just get spat out, because it's the mother of all crowns in the road, and there's almost no recovering from it.
Yeah, exactly right there. There's so much that can go wrong. Those sections are so high, or so much intensity in these sections of the circuit. And, amazing too how much of this circuit, considering how long it is single line with one true line as Norton exploring the track limits, the grass and everything in between. He's using that single line to his absolute full potential at the moment. He's got that gap down to 1.6 between he and Mac, and he will be well and truly there, probably by Carousel.
Yeah, I'd say so. It's see, he's getting that line exactly right through their long right-hander. That's something that we haven't seen Lear or Mac really do yet. This is pretty significant, isn't it?
Phenomenal. You can see too from the onboard here from Norton. You can see the two cars that he is battling with ahead. You can see both of them in shot at the same time. Norton well and truly on the back of Mac, and just up ahead you can see Lear off in the distance, but you can see him, and that is the psychological thing. When you can see the car that you're wanting to battle, and you just start to see him, you can automatically reel him in. It sort of helps propel you along. It's almost magnetic once you start to see that car that you're trying to battle with.
Oh, Norton, huge use of the curbs there. That was pretty much a V8 supercar spec, wasn't it?
That was almost like V8 Scops we were watching there. It's not GT3 racing. But Norton now...
This isn't your daddy's GT3 racing.
Norton now well and truly there, and a lot earlier than we were expecting. He's explored this track. He has found every single blade of grass, every single piece of asphalt on it, and he is now right on the tail of Trevor Mack. Will he be able to get a move done? Mack is not going to let this one go without a fight, though, because he is still fighting for position here.
He definitely is. Well, coming up the hill there, you can see Norton has just got the front end of that car absolutely worked out through Niki Lauda turn. He's just searching, and he's going to go for the move here. Big dive there under brakes at Bergwerk, and he is through. No trouble.
Fairly easy in the end.
Mac come back.
Yeah, Mac could come back here because this is the section we were talking about before. While it's not a straight, you are full throttle for an absolutely incredible amount of time. Mac had to lift out of the throttle there because he almost made contact into the rear of Norton. Norton definitely down on straight line speed.
Well, this is the same thing that we were seeing with Lear before down the straight. Just seems like once Mac... Oh, no!
How did he hold on to that?
That's incredible. Awesome stuff. He's managed to keep the pace up as well.
Wow,
Did you hear me then? I had to take a moment to gasp.
That was incredible. I do not know how he held on to that. That was phenomenal driving from Norton. We're going to get a CPR replay because that was incredible. I do not know how he held on to it.
Wow. Well, hold on to it he did, and he's going to continue his hot pursuit of Ashley Lear, and third on the road at the moment.
Oh, phenomenal bit of driving there from Norton to hold on to that car. Gap between he and Lear is down to 3.7 seconds. Since he's got ahead of Mac, he's gained nearly a full second.
That's crazy. Before Norton had his quote-unquote little moment, I was going to point out that Trevor Mack seems to be super strong in the draft, like much stronger than any of his rivals seem to be. We saw it last lap with Ashley Lear. We saw it down the post-Bergwerk section with Norton. If he could just stay in touch with Norton.
Big moment again for Norton. You're right there. I'm wondering whether wing settings and things like that, Mac's gone very aggressive one way in comparison to everyone else, and that's where he's getting that advantage with draft. And car does not look as good, Max, in regards to actual pace and mid-corner speed and things like that. But you're right, the draft and even just the straights themselves has looked really, really strong.
Well, it seems to be costing him quite a bit through this section. He's almost lost sight of Norton now. Just have a look at the amount the gap has increased.
Out to 2.5 seconds already, but You know what, a man that we've forgotten about, Ross Rizzo, just set the fastest lap of the race. We're an hour and 20 minutes in, and he's just set the fastest lap of the race, an 8:08.8.
Goodness me. That is pretty good there from Rizzo, and he's got a little bit of damage on that car as well. So for that kind of lap time to come out of him at this point, it's pretty impressive.
Yep, phenomenal drive from Ross Rizzo. Only driver into the 8:08 bracket. We've seen a couple of drivers into the 8:09 barrier. 8:08, incredible pace. We tick down now. We are 124 minutes complete in this race. We have 60 minutes to go. 8 laps left of this race we are predicting. 8-minute lap times. That would give us 64 minutes. That makes complete sense with 8 laps to go, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
So, fairly sure that will mean that Rizzo will have to pit for another stop. We'll have to splash probably 2 laps of fuel.
Yeah.
Lear versus Norton. Norton now with no one ahead but Lear. Last lap around was 1.5 seconds quicker. Up now 3.9.
This is exciting. Like I've said it time and time again. This race has just been constant action from the start to the very present. And Norton, he's driving to watch the behavior of his car. It seems like he is just on the edge of disaster for most of a lap. But God, is it entertaining to watch?
He is leaving it all out there. He's going for one position. He wants to get a podium. If he can't get a podium, then it doesn't matter. He doesn't want anything else. So he's leaving it all out there, pushing it to the ragged edge, pushing it to the limit, and I am so happy that he is doing it because it is so good to watch.
Yes, indeed. He's throwing up gravel on the exit of just about every corner on the Grand Prix circuit. Doesn't seem to have caught up to Lear very much through the Grand Prix section, though, because as we have noted in the past, Lear is very strong through this section, but wait till they get to the Nordschleife.
Yep, Lear probably got 1 to 2 tenths advantage over Norton, but probably another 2 kilometers into the track, we'll start to see that gap start to close down, because Lear will start to lose a little bit of ground to Norton over the next little bit. I think John Roberts has jumped in for his final pit stop. Pit window is open for the guys that want to reverse the race back and reverse strategize the race. Do that middle stint, shorter stint in the middle. They can pit now and make it home. Probably see Trevor Mackin in the next lap or so as well.
Yeah, we'll keep an eye out. Keep an eye out for that. Looks like through Hatzenbach, Norton has not gained as much on Lear as I would have initially thought. Maybe the happy hour phase of those fresh tyres has gone on Norton's car.
It's gained about half a second, which probably, when you're just looking with the naked eye, you probably don't see it, but the live timing is showing it is down to now 3.5 seconds. It was 4 seconds when they left the GP circuit and started on the Nordschleife. So we'll see how much Norton can close. But Lear's pace last lap was incredibly good.
Yeah.
4th fastest car on track was Lear, but only 1.5 seconds behind as Norton flashes his lights for some reason. I'm surprised as to why. Probably a little bit of a whoopsie on the wrong button. I know I've done that one before. You accidentally map your talk to your teammates button as your flash headlights button, and you look like a fool flashing your headlights at nobody.
Yeah. Or maybe he has it mapped to a macro or something like that.
Yep, possibly. Or could even be adjusting his fuel map and having it mapped to the same button as one of those buttons.
Maybe.
Is another possibility, but Norton either way is closing in. We've seen him flash those headlights a lot, so closing in on Lear. It's now down to 3.
I do know that my teammate at Fusion Sim Racing, Alexander Bird, for one of our fun races, he actually mapped the flash headlight key and the throttle to the same function, so it was just non-stop headlight flashing all the way around Daytona, which was interesting.
Bo Albert would have been so impressed with that. He would have loved seeing headlights flash non-stop.
Yes.
I know that he pits for bulbs as opposed to for tyres, so down to 3 seconds. Norton is closing now. You can start to see that gap closing up.
Yeah, it's through this section of the circuit that you can really see Norton's advantage over Lear coming through here. But coming up to the latter half of the circuit, those seem to be the places where Norton has made the most mistakes. So really ought to be a bit more careful through this section.
Amazing that he's made mistakes, but he still gains time even with those mistakes too, which is incredible.
Yeah, definitely is. Like, making mistakes is one thing. It's your ability to recover from them that really defines you as a driver, I suppose.
Exactly right. Gap is closing, but now that they are at maximum speed, probably going to see Lear start to stretch that gap out a tiny little bit, because we've seen Norton not be as strong in regards to straight line speed as every other car in this grid. And that gap is extending through this maximum power section. Still going to second in that first portion of the Nordschleife though, which is pretty incredible. A second game over an evenly matched car. Very, very good pace.
Yeah, and look at how aggressive he is through Carousel as well. The way that he absolutely threw it into there, I thought for sure he'd get spat out, but he managed to hold on to it.
And he's gained probably another quarter of a second or so in that section as well. So now down to 2.7. Lear will be starting to feel a bit of pressure behind. I wouldn't be surprised if Lear jumps into the pits this lap and does that short fill now, and he knows that he's fueled up to get it home.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like that would be optimal because, like, you know, we go over it all the time in these broadcasts. It's much better for you strategy-wise. Oh, Norton makes another little error here. That section of the circuit seems to be his weakest link. But going through, going into a pit stop phase, you really want to actually just get into the pits and get it done rather than get involved in a battle that might slow you down.
Yep, you're exactly right. If Lear doesn't jump in, we might see Norton jump in and do that early pit stop. We are, as we said, well and truly in range of making it home from now. We're going to have 7 laps to go when they come across the line next time. So one of these two will pit this lap, I feel. Lear doesn't jump. I would not be surprised if Norton jumps in. If Lear jumps in, Norton will likely stay out and try and overcut. See how it plays out. Someone that is in the pits is Ross Rizzo. He's going to do that splash and dash now.
Right, so he's doing it nice and early. Try and get himself all set up for this final section of the race. Get into a nice rhythm to take it to the finish. Now, the question on my mind is, what of Josh Nowak?
See Nowak jump in. On board with him now. I would not be surprised if Nowak stays out. He's pretty much in a battle all on his own at the moment as Nowak, and he does stay out. So Nowak will come out ahead of Rizzo. Rizzo just be splashing on some fuel. He'll get a little bit of damage repaired, get back out there. Will we see Lear or Norton jump in? The gap between those two cars has stayed stable at 3 seconds for pretty much the second half of this lap, which I am really, really surprised in. I thought that Norton would have closed a little bit more time.
Lear is going to stay out, so Norton is also going to stay out.
Surprising.
Huh.
Rizzo is away, and he will jump out in between Lear and Nowak. So Rizzo is around about 25 seconds behind Nowak. Just ahead of Lear, just ahead of Norton, but Rizzo pretty much in a race all on his own at the moment.
Yeah, I suppose you can say that for quite a few guys in this field. It seems to me as though, as I just see Trevor Mack has jumped into the pit lane. Seems like most drivers now are on their own, other than Lear and Norton. I suppose Martin Houston and John Roberts are currently embroiled in a little battle.
They are. Roberts has just come out of the pits on fresh tyres, and Houston out there probably on his last lap in this stint. He's on his 8th lap in this stint, so he'll probably come into the pits this time. Will we see Roberts be able to get a move done? Ferrari versus Mercedes We're actually very, very close when they come down the big long straight. Carousel right now.
Yeah, certainly. You can really tell like the relative freshness of Robert's tires compared to Houston's. You can see he's able to carry much more speed through these fast turns.
Yep, he looks a lot more stable as well. Can he stay on the throttle? Yes, he does. Didn't have to lift. Well and truly in the draft, he's going to get a move done here fairly easily. Would think.
Catching at a bit of a slow rate, but it seems like he's going to get it done. Houston is going to leave all the space on the right-hand side, and that is the move done before the bridge.
Likely there was no real fighting there because we will see Houston into the pits this time. Love how long they're on the throttle for, and just when you think they're about to lift off, go down the hill and you have a little bit more rev go. You know, it hit 280. 280 in a GT3 car is incredibly quick. See,
Yep, there he goes.
Yep. Also seeing Jake Fox in the pits as well to get his second pit stop completed. We go back to the battle for third and fourth. Lear versus Norton. This is on now because Norton is in draft range.
It's closed up too. You can see it's actually a lot closer than it was this time last lap. And I think what Norton needs to do right now is not get too carried away with trying to take time out of Ash Lear, because we've seen Norton's propensity for making mistakes in this race. He just needs to dial it back a little bit, especially through the last half of the circuit, and I think he'll be able to get it done a lot easier.
If he actually plays it smart, tucks him behind, saves some fuel, he can just jump him at the pit stop. Probably doesn't need to try and work a way around and make a pass on track. He can just play it smart. Probably well and truly out of reach of reaching Josh Nowak 30 seconds up the road. So Lear is the car that he is battling. So Norton has to think logically about how he's going to get the move done. He doesn't have to do it on track if he can play it smart and make it at the pit stop. That would be the way I'd be thinking if I was in Norton's shoes right now. Save fuel, jump him in the stop, done it easy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Having said that, Lear, I'm seeing a couple of cracks starting to show. A few turns ago, I did see him encounter a little bit of a slide. You can see Norton is just chipping away at that gap, corner by corner.
Interesting last lap time between those guys. Only 7/10 of a second separating them, so both 8-minute 11 lap times. The two fastest cars on track last time around. Oh, actually, Nowak as well did an 11.2, so 11s for those three cars. Pretty good pace from all of them, but this lap, seen that drop because of that mistake from Lear. Now down to 8/10 of a second. Norton well and truly in the draft range. We'll see if he can close up some time. So we have the straight that's not a straight. That's the best way to describe it, I think, Grace.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah, definitely. But I don't know. What's going to happen here? He's definitely in draft range. Will he be able to catch up to Lear at an accelerated rate, though? Oh, don't want to go off the track there, Christopher.
The thing we've noticed too, though, is that Norton's car is struggling in regards to straight line speed. So even if he is in the draft, is he actually able to use it and close up? Flash of the headlights to try and distract Lear. That's not going to work. Ash is very, very experienced. Knows how to drive. So probably see this gap stay very, very stable at around the half a second. But I think one of these two need to pit. If they want to try and get an advantage, one of these two cars has to be the first to jump in the pits.
Yeah. But which will it be? We honestly don't know right now. They both avoided the pits last time around, so one of them has to make the jump.
Who will it be, though? We don't know. Someone wants to tell us. We'll be happy to take any advice that anyone gives us.
And any credit.
But Lee's looking probably a little bit stronger at the moment over Norton. There's the aggressiveness of Norton possibly is starting to impact his tyres a little bit, or possibly starting to show a few cracks or so.
Yeah, it seems that way, especially through this section. You can see Lear looks a lot more stable. And of course, this right here is a section where we've seen Norton make his most obvious mistakes. Bloody hell, they're close, though.
Incredible, isn't it?
You see Norton just, he's working that wheel all the way through the corner. I'm noticing Lear's wheel work, very smooth, you know, turn in, turn out, but Norton, he's fighting that car all the way around this track.
Yeah, Lear looks more stable. Norton is really pushing the limits, but when he gets it right, he's gained so much time, but
Yeah, look at that.
making a few little minor errors and down to 0.2 of a second. Have a look at how close they are now. This is incredible.
Now, Mini Carousel may make all the difference in this one. If either of them gets it wrong, it's this battle over. Looks like they've managed to both get through swimmingly that time around, but now it's back onto the straight. Christopher still on that headlight flash button.
Jump on
Oh,
board,
he's running
Ashley.
a little bit wide.
Yep, and now draft range. Well and truly in draft range, but you've seen that Norton's car has not looked as strong in a straight line. See if you can close this gap up. In comparison to other cars drafting, is not closing at all.
Yeah, that there's almost no difference. So it's all in the corners for Norton here. Will he be able to fire one up the inside on the Grand Prix circuit? Oh, have a look at how much he closes up under brakes.
This is a great battle.
Yeah, but it may soon be over as they're coming up to the pits.
Both stay out.
They both stay out once again.
I'm surprised. They're both compromising each other's speed here. Nowak's come in. He's come in to make his final pit stop. So this is now on track for second and third. But...
Oh, Lear ran wide.
Big mistake. They're going to go side by side here.
Oh, Lear has the inside line for this next section, though. Oh, is he lifted off?
Yeah, he's got out of the throttle. So Lear has let Norton through. Norton now takes what is now second position with Nowak in the pits to make his final stop.
I feel a little underwhelmed, to be honest.
I don't think this is over. I think once they both come into the pits, I think it is going to be on once again. Now, I would not be surprised if Lear has done that, thinking, well, you've got better pace than me. I might just tuck him behind, save some fuel. I can jump you back at the pit stop. Don't be surprised if that's what's happening here.
Yeah, very good point.
But that'd have also been the reason why we didn't see Norton close up as much as we thought he would. It's to say 75% throttle when he was tucked under the rear wing, not closing in as much as we would expect. That could be what was going on. I don't know.
Possibly. Very intriguing. Well, I guess we'll find out in another, I don't know, 6-7 minutes.
Guys are on their 6th lap in this stint. Maybe in this lap they may come in on the next one. Another battle that is starting to unfold. We've just seen Cameron Dance jump on past Marcus. And now closing in to Vismarty. So Dance still yet to make his final stop, but he's closing in at an incredible rate. 5 seconds quicker last lap was Dance over Vismarty.
Yeah, that is quite the gap. 5 seconds around the Nordschleife. Dance has got that car absolutely hooked up at the moment.
Very, very controlled does Cam Dance. Very good job putting on a very, very good performance starting in the pits. Working his way forward. Behind them, Josh Nowak has come out of the pits after his second stop and has a big slide. But Nowak's dropped back to 8th, but he is effective P2. Need to remember, while he's out of position at the moment, yeah, the 6 cars ahead of him yet to make their secondary pit stop. When they do, that will shoot Nowak back in number 2.
Question is, will he catch up to Vastamarki and Niskanen before they pit, and will they hold him up?
That's a high possibility of that happening. Now, speaking of holding up, not being held up, Norton and Lear, have a look at how close they still are.
Yeah,
Norton
you're
has
right,
not
Jay.
broken
That
away at
was
all.
a strategic move from Lear.
Yep, definitely is tucked in behind. 90% throttle in the high acceleration zones, or the high drafting opportunities. He's just happy sitting in there behind and saving a bit of fuel. He's a very, very smart racer. He's done this quite a few times. Put my team hat on for a second. I am teammates with Ash, so I do know his thinking. I do know his strategies, and I know that he likes to run it long and save fuel where he can. So Lear will be out there to try and put as much pressure on Norton right now. Try and work his way through. Potentially steal a podium away from Norton, who's looked like he should be deserving of one from the start of this race. But things don't always go how they're supposed to in these races.
No, certainly not, especially not around the Nürburgring.
Oh, Dance now right on the tail of Asmarty. I reckon we might see a move here.
Yeah, coming up to this section, no real passing opportunities until Bergwerk.
Glad you're saying all the corner names, because I can never say them.
Oh, have a look there.
Smarty's making a few mistakes, isn't he?
He is. So Dance will be seeing that. He'll be noticing it. You can see he's much more consistent with the way he just scythes through the corners.
Go back to Norton and Lear. Have a look at how close these guys have got in the draft. Lear now dropped back off once again as he closed up onto the tail of Norton. Definitely strategic play here from Lear in regards to saving fuel.
Yeah, you can tell the pace is still there with Ash.
Probably could have made a move there, but he's decided against it and tucked back in behind. As we go back to Dance, Dance will be able to make a move here, I think.
Oh yeah, he'll be drafting right past, I would say. Got a big high load turn right there, and
Always had to get out of the throttle.
Off. Yeah,
Wasn't going to be able to get it done. Decided against it, saving a dash of fuel. Cam, high chance of getting a top 5 here, almost into the fence.
Aero push.
That was a big moment there for Dance.
Yeah, certainly was. He could have easily lost it there, as we've seen other cars do before. Have a look at the run that he's getting out of there, though. You can't really put a move on in carousel, though. There we go. He's lifting off earlier. Whoa.
Oh, here we go.
Okay. Well, that's that sorted.
That was an easy pass in the end. Probably not how Cam was expecting to get it done, but he's through. Now takes 5th position away. Effective 6th. This car ahead, though, John King, fair bit up the road, but the big advantage that Dance has is about 5 seconds a lap faster than King. Gap is 22 seconds. Both still have to pit. That is not over as Lear retakes 2nd position away from Norton.
Oh, okay. So that's pretty big, actually. How did that happen?
Norton's made a mistake. We're getting a CPR replay. Norton dropped a lot of pace right now.
Yeah, he just lifted off and let Lear by. It doesn't look like he... Hold on a minute.
Is Norton out of fuel?
No, I think he got a slowdown.
Okay. Like when he's cut across the circuit there that we just caught at the start of our CPR replay. So we are back live once again. Norton now has lost 2 seconds out of that. He's 2 seconds behind Lear. He was nearly a half second ahead.
Oh. So this just puts another weird twist in this battle that we've been keeping track of.
We go back to this battle. We got Ferrari, Mercedes, 6th, 7th, and 8th. And not far behind is Noack as well. So we've nearly got 4 cars in the one shot. Vastamaki under a little bit of pressure now.
Yeah. He's lost quite a bit of pace, hasn't he?
Yep, does not look comfortable at the moment. He's probably ready to come in and get some fresh tyres and have this final stint.
Lear in.
Will Norton follow him? No, Norton stays out. Surprised with that. So Norton is going to have to run it as long as he possibly can now. He's probably going to have to go 2 more laps on this tyre set to try and get any advantage as we go side by side.
Oh, yeah. So Niskanen versus Vastamaki. That Mercedes 100% has got it done.
Yep. Easy move.
Oh, Vastamaki coming back almost, but he's had to get out of it.
John King also in the pits from P number 4, so he's in right behind Lear to get his final stop completed. Lear is away. Fairly short stop for Lear, only 20 seconds for Lear, so very, very short stop. King still stopped. Dance and Vastamati come through as well as Noack, so Noack retakes his position. Interesting that Lear has come out ahead of Noack. That's for position on track.
Yeah, and have a look at the battle between Vastamaki and Niskanen now. Niskanen was a bit offline there in turn 1, so that's really compromised him. That battle is not over yet.
No, not at all.
Look at how strong Vastamaki is here. That's bizarre, but he lifts off to let Noack go.
Yep. Probably knows that Noack's on that different strategy, knows that Noack's already made his secondary pit stop. Decides it's not his battle to fight. Niskanen will probably let Noack through as well. And then we'll see those 2 cars battle once again, but very, very impressed from Lear. Hopefully, for his sake, he's put enough fuel in that car. Got 5 laps to go, but he is now on track to get a 2nd position, which I don't think anyone saw coming.
No, certainly not. Starting from 4th in a field like that, and, you know, trailing behind the top 3 the way he did at the start. I guess it's just an example of Ash playing the long game. Here we go, Josh Noack versus Niskanen.
Niskanen just got out of the throttle there. Fairly easy then. Whitehead into the pits, so not too many cars left to make their 2nd stop. Norton, Dance, Niskanen, Vastamati. Who else is still left to make their 2nd stop? About it. Marco as well still has to make his 2nd stop. Everyone else has made their 2 pit stops. What it means though, real scheme of things, is Ash Lear got himself into what is effective P2, and that has taken everybody by surprise, none more so than Josh Noack. Noack has a real struggle on his hands. Got 9.5 seconds to catch up to the tail of Ash Lear. I don't know if there's enough time left for Noack to do it. Still 32 minutes to go, but the pace of Noack in comparison to Lear hasn't been hugely different. They've been lapping almost identical lap times when they were out on track together before.
Yeah, so 32 divided by 9. He'll have to catch up by a matter of 3.5 seconds a minute or something like that. No, that's not right. 1 second every 3.5 minutes.
That's 2.5 seconds a lap, essentially.
Yeah, basically.
Possible.
So, yeah, it could be done. It could be done.
Been reminded too that Lear probably no tyres at that stop as well. That could be catching a few drivers out, so that could come into play at the end. Noack, fairly long 2nd stop in comparison, around about an extra 25 seconds, which is around about a GT3 tyre stop. So at the moment, there might not be a huge difference in pace, but give it another 30 minutes of racing. Lear could be really struggling with tyres. Is Nowak. Have a look how sideways he was.
Yeah, he's once again, like that's just pushing a little too hard, missing your braking point. You cannot afford to miss braking points at this circuit because there is nothing to allow you to recover. There's those high curbs, there's the Armco, basically no runoff other than a little strip of grass. So you've got to be extremely careful.
Yeah. Lear to Nowak is 8.8 seconds.
Well, tell you what, he's making a little bit of an inroad as Nowak.
Probably not quite enough. Saying that pace difference will definitely change later in this stint. Lear goes long on these tyres, and he'll be onto his 11th and 12th lap in the tyre stint. But I don't think anyone was expecting Lear to jump. I know hear from my voice that I'm surprised, and I'm fairly sure you're as shocked as me, Bruce.
Yeah, certainly. It's certainly not what I was expecting at all. So, I don't know. Like you said, those tyres are definitely going to come and into play later on. Oh, hang on a minute. Nowak, goodness me, he's really pushing hard. Just have a look at what happened on the way into that left-hander. He grazed the wall.
For a CPR replay, big thanks to CPR Kart Parts for their continued support of us here at V8 Online. We are after some kart equipment. Paul is the man to get in touch with. He will look after you. Tell him that we sent you and he will look after you. But yeah, you're right. Big moment there for Nowak. Probably a slight little lapse in concentration because it's a section where you almost get a little chance to rest before you come into one of the more difficult sections of the track. So I feel that was purely just a slight little lapse in concentration.
Yeah, it definitely seems that way, and I think it might have hurt his pursuit of Dance and Lear a little bit. Remember, Dance is the next car up the road from Nowak at the moment. Has yet to make his final pit stop.
Norton is the other one in this lead crew that has not made his final stop, so but we'll see both of those cars in. Maybe this time, possibly one more. I'm going to say Norton will come in this time. Dance will go one more. They are starting to catch Lear. That is now down to 7.9 seconds between Nowak and Lear.
Yeah, I tell you what, I don't think it's a certainty that Nowak will catch up to Lear by the end, but it's definitely on the cards.
Tell you what, the pace difference that he has got over Dance at the moment, he has closed up an incredible amount in the second half of this lap, has Nowak to Dance. He will blaze on by down the back straight.
Yeah, I was observing Cam a few corners ago, and I noticed he wasn't quite taking the optimum lines. He was just staying a little bit narrow on entry to a few corners, which has obviously hurt him a little bit. Oh, just took a little bit too much curb there, did Cam, and that put him a bit off.
Had to get out of the throttle there too.
Yeah, this is going to be Nowak's position for sure.
Won't be caught at all. Will not get out of the throttle, but he won't make it difficult as Norton goes in from P number 2. Fairly sure that we'll see Lear and Nowak go by Norton. Saying that if Norton does do no tyres as well, come out with Lear, but I'm going to say the way that he has been pushing that car, he will definitely take tyres.
Yeah, certainly.
We've been surprised before.
Yeah.
See?
I don't know, I mean, like, at this rate, I couldn't see Norton not taking tyres because there we go. I just saw the car go up on the jacks.
Away he goes. So
yeah,
maybe no tyres for Norton as well.
Yeah. It's
It's
like he went up on the jacks and then dropped right back down again.
Oh, surprising. But anyway, he's come back out. He's ahead by about 5.5 seconds over Nowak. Now, we do know that Nowak has got fresh tyres. We are 100% sure on that. because the pace that he has got is incredible. He was the fastest car on track last time around, and that included getting a pass done on Cameron Dance.
Yeah.
And hitting the wall.
Yes, definitely. Can't forget that.
4.5 seconds up the road is Noah. Once he gets, is Norton. Once he gets to Norton, he's then got to worry about Lear. We've got 3.5 laps left in this race. 25 minutes. Means that we will have 4 full laps to go. Give us 18 lap race.
Mm-hmm. And Rizzo, meanwhile, up in front, remains completely untroubled. He's just exited the Hatzenbach section.
Done everything almost perfectly in this race. He's just driven a phenomenal race. Very controlled, very consistent, kept it clean, capitalised on others' misfortunes. And when the time was right to pounce and put down those incredible lap times, did absolutely everything exactly as he should. So, good drive so far from Ross Rizzo. Still 3.5 laps for him to complete, but at the moment, it's been very, very strong for him as we hit the 2-hour mark in this race. 2 hours complete. We've got 24 minutes to go.
Oh, and you know what? Those 24 minutes, I think, are going to fly by. Especially at the rate we're seeing change happening in this race. It'll be over before we know it. There's still so much to keep track of in the top 6.
While that battle starts to unfold a little bit, we're going to go back in the field a tiny little way. So we go to 11th and 12th. Adam McLeod versus John Roberts. These two guys are very, very close. Roberts 3 seconds quicker last lap around over McLeod. So we'll probably see these two cars fight quite aggressively here, I'm going to say.
Yeah, or McLeod, a little bit of a slide out of the Schumacher S. Doesn't look like he's got much left in the rear end of that car.
That rear wing looks very, very unhealthy. The whole car looks a little bit off-center. It doesn't quite look as straight as it should. So probably not feeling too comfortable in that car at the moment. But McLeod, he just lets
proof
out
right there.
Yeah. Nothing left to fight. Let's Roberts through. They'll keep pushing on together as we go back to Lear, Norton and Nowak. 3 cars separated by 6 seconds. This is the battle for second. There is nothing between them.
Oh, I'm loving this. Absolutely loving this. And Cameron Dance, of course, has a front row seat to all of this. We should expect him in at the end of this lap.
Good drive from Dance. Regardless of where he finishes, he'll be very, very happy with his performance throughout this race. See where he ends up, though. They'll come out a roundabout with Trevor Mack, and they'll probably have a pretty close battle together to finish the race. Mack's dropped back into 10th position after making his second stop. Of course, he had that longer stop in that stop. He is about 10 seconds behind the car of Lear is pulling away a tiny little bit from Norton, but Nowak is closing up fairly quickly to the back of Christopher Norton.
Yeah, and I think that right there might be proof that Norton didn't take tyres.
I can't see the pace that Norton's got at the moment. I'm fairly sure, 99% sure that he did not take tyres at that stop. The pace that he has at the moment just doesn't seem right for someone who would have fresh tyres. It doesn't look like the car is comfortable at the moment. He doesn't look as stable as he did after his last pit stop. Remember the pace he had after the last stop. He was incredibly quick. He does not look comfortable like that at the moment.
No, definitely not. And we'll definitely see the effects of that through this upcoming section of the circuit. You know, I've said it time and time again. Once you get onto carousel onwards, it's all about the cars with the most mid-corner grip.
Oh, big twitch for Norton as he put his foot on the brake there. That could have so easily ended up in the fence.
Could so easily have taken Nowak with him.
Yep. They're leaving it.
Oh,
Oh,
Norton got
big
spat
mistake.
out.
Big mistake. Here comes Nowak. Will he be able to take advantage? He's got it now under a second between he and Norton. This is going to be a great battle.
Oh, Norton, another big twitch coming over the hill. He's really struggling with that car now. I think it's only a matter of time before Nowak gets past.
I agree. I don't think there'll be too much fighting when he gets there as well. But if Norton does put up a very, very tough fight, that is going to help Ashley Lear. Because Lear will know that once Nowak is on by Norton, he'll be a sitting duck. He'll be pounced on very, very quickly. We'll see how quickly Nowak can get through. I don't know if he's going to be able to do it as quick as we were originally expecting.
Perhaps he's biding his time until it's straight. I mean, like, through this sequence of turns, there's no way you can get a pass done cleanly without losing a bunch of time. So, Nowak's probably thinking he'll just stay behind. Maybe he thinks he's got time.
Oh, front loop turn! That's not the preferred line out there.
Really losing pace as well. You can see Nowak's right on the back of him now. Just lifting off a little bit early is Nowak, and Norton really pushing hard into the turns. He's running a little bit wide. Nowak taking the curb slightly.
What
Mini carousel.
Oh, he got spat out.
Yep.
And Lear's blitzing away from these guys as well. He's pulled a second since these two have started fighting. Nowak not able to get through. He's going to have the overspeed here. Will have the draft advantage. 3 to go where they cross the line.
I'll tell you what. Yeah, that. But also, this is exactly what Ashley needed.
Oh,
just
for
that
sure.
little bit of extra breathing room. As I'm just seeing Nowak here, and he's going to just blast on past. There's nothing that Christopher Norton can do in that situation. Not with the amount of damage that he has.
No. Nowak to Lear, 4.7 seconds. 3 laps to go. There is definitely enough time left on the clock, but getting there is one thing. Getting past is another. Lear is a very, very tough competitor. He's very, very tough to pass. Knows how to make his car nice and wide. It's going to be a really, really good battle. 18 minutes on the clock. Definitely 3 to go. Oh, this is going to be good.
No, certainly is. Rizzo, again, completely untroubled. And this this battle is basically where it's at on track at the moment, as I'm just seeing Markus Niskanen coming in for his final stop.
It's stayed out, so he's going to come in next time around.
John Roberts with a problem. He's going really slow. He's been off the circuit a few times.
What's happened, Roberts?
Oh, just a case of the twitches.
And get ahead of McLeod, and then just lost it over the rise, and where the car gets a little bit of air underneath it, the front wheels went light, and scary moment. That is really scary when that happens, because you don't know where your car's going to go, and you don't know if your car is going to hit anyone around you, because you have no control at all.
Well, that's certainly put a bit more of John Roberts' race in jeopardy. He's not had the best of races, has he? Started in 7th, and he's a bit of a ways down from there.
Notice something's happened to Vastamarki, I should.
Oh yeah.
A toe. So we'll see if we can find what's happened. No,
He just pulled into the pits.
Drove into the pits and then had to use a toe while he's in the pits.
Oh, I can see what happened. He just went straight on at the end of that lap. I think he might have been encountering a hardware issue.
Yeah, had been going along all right. It didn't have fantastic pace, but he was doing a good enough job to keep himself out of trouble. So disappointing to have it end for him in that way, as we go back to Lear, Nowak, Norton. see how much Norton has dropped off the back of Nowak. He's already dropped 2 seconds. But Lear versus Nowak is on. It is 3 seconds separating these two cars now.
Yeah, and this will certainly be a second last or last lap battle. You can tell Norton just has absolutely nothing left in that car. Nowak's just driving away from him at this stage.
.7. Last lap around, Nowak was 2.5 seconds quicker than Lear. 12.2 for Lear and a 9.7 for Nowak. That pace,
the power of tyres.
Yeah, and at that pace too, that puts them nose to tail as they get the white flag.
Ooh. It's all going to come down to the defensive game from Lear, but I
think the tyre advantage is going to be too much because he's going to get the better run onto the straights. He'll just draft on by. There's probably not much Lear can do, but the one thing that Lear is doing is breaking away from Norton. Gap second to fourth is out to 5.2 seconds and growing. So Lear is doing everything right in comparison to Norton. Nowak likely to get on by. But strange things happen in these races, and strange things have happened throughout this race. Never know what's going to unfold here.
No, you never do. Another thing you also got to consider with the Lear-Nowak battle is that this track is so long. Like, last lap battle, it does seem like, it's going to be this, oh my goodness, what's going to happen sort of thing, but it may very well be over by the end of the GP circuit, for all we know.
That could come right down to the wire. We don't know how it's all going to unfold, and fuel is definitely another factor as well. Some guys might be running it very, very lean on fuel too, so we could see cars coughing at the end of this race, and a high probability that we'll see one car out of fuel by the end. So nothing is done. Nothing is complete. Nothing can be written down in pen yet. Still on. As I just see Ross Rizzo have a couple of internet issues while he's got a minute lead. That is not what we want to happen.
No, certainly not.
Rizzo, regardless of how this finishes, fantastic drive from him once again.
Yeah, certainly. It seems like with Ross, he's either doing these incredible drives to make up a bunch of positions, or he's out in the lead just completely comfortable and untroubled. At least that's the trend that I've been seeing with him recently. He just seems to have that BMW completely worked out.
Yep, he's got it all sorted, but Lear now starting to feel some pressure from behind. He got held up by lap traffic. Did Lear, and now is very, very under pressure from Josh Nowak.
Yeah, really right up to the back of him now is Nowak. They're just coming through the latter part of the main twisties. I'm actually quite surprised that Nowak has been able to catch up this quickly. We were saying just a couple of laps ago that it would be interesting for Nowak to catch up to Lear by the end, but it looks like he's actually going to get it done with like 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, I'll have 2 full laps clear, so and I don't think that this is ever going to be in doubt. I'm fairly sure that once we get onto the straight, Nowak will have the superior drive purely based on those fresh tyres, and he will blitz on by Ash Lear, but the race has not been without incident for Nowak, so we could quite easily see something happen, and this whole pack of cars change positions once again. Nowak Norton to Lear is now out to 6 seconds. So Lear is pulling away from Norton at a fairly decent rate. Nowak has a little bit of a mistake and he's lost a little bit of momentum. Probably isn't going to be able to get it done by the end of the straight here. He had to get out of the throttle there.
Yeah, that's not optimal. Yeah, he's not going to get it done, is he?
Definitely not getting enough drive. He didn't get enough drive out of that that last corner, the double apex. He had to check up a little bit so that he didn't run out into that wall, into that Armco barrier, and wasn't quite close enough under the rear wing of Ash Lear. So he's going to have to probably do it in the GP circuit. But Lear has looked really strong in the GP circuit all day.
Yeah, he certainly has, and if he's able to hold off Nowak here, it'll definitely be proof of that. Well, they come around to begin lap 17, which will be the second last lap of the race. How are they going to go through this section? Oh, Lear just pushing a little bit too hard there.
Nowak probably pushed a little bit too hard through the middle section of the corner and did get a bit better momentum, but not quite able to get a move done. Probably thought he was going to be a little bit closer to Lear and maybe close enough to get the move done with that mistake from Lear. Probably the first mistake we've seen from Lear this entire race in the GP section.
I think I recall him running wide in turn 1 at some point. But other than that, he's been flawless.
He has done a very, very good job today. Nowak as well. Didn't have that spin from the lead early in the race. Who knows what might have been for him as well. He's had very, very good pace. He and Rizzo have pretty much been evenly matched in regards to single lap pace all race. So it would have been a really, really tight battle between those as we see Marco in the pit make his final stop. So everyone has been in to make their second and final stop now. So the field is cleansed. Officially 2 laps left in the race. On here, because Nowak is right on the rear of Ashley Lear. Will we see him make a move? No. Thought about it.
Yeah, he certainly did, and looks like they've actually slowed each other up a little bit here, and now this is going to be interesting because Nowak, as he just climbs all over the curb, the big challenge is to try and find a way past Lear.
While this is going on, there is another battle happening at the same time because out of the pits, Niskanen and King are wrenched in a battle as well. So the 2 battles going on for position.
Oh, Lear! Big mistake! In the wall!
No.
There we go. That's that done.
Unfortunate end for Ash Lear. Hopefully he's got enough to be able to hold on though.
He just took a little bit too much of the curb and that spat his car out. Oh, he's crabbing really badly as Ash. I don't know if he'll be able to make it back. Yeah, he stopped.
Oh, unfortunate end for Lear. He was doing a phenomenal job. Yeah, as you said, just a tiny little bit too much curb and into the fence and very, very heavy contact and unfortunate end of what was looking like would have been a great drive to get a podium and steal the podium essentially.
Yeah. Wow. How would you be in his position?
He will be heartbroken right now.
Can't quite believe that. We had such a good battle going and it's just completely gone.
Waiting for Lear, but we go back to the battle that we were just talking about. We're starting to unfold at the same time, but King has got through on Niskanen and King now up into P5. That will be definitely a positive for him in regards to the championship. That probably wasn't looking like it was going to be an overly strong performance for him, but he now found himself into 5th. And car looks nice and clean, nice and straight. Pace, whilst not incredible, still fairly decent.
Yeah, certainly. Looking very good right here at the end.
Dance has managed to get himself pitted and back out in his 4th position. Battle that is about to unfold though. We go to 7th and 8th. Marco Pentinen and Trevor Mack. Mack closing in at around about 4 seconds a lap quicker.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'll see Mack on the tail of Marco in the next few kilometres.
Yeah. It's interesting how you have to sort of recalibrate your mind when it comes to talking about minutes and seconds when talking about this track. You think, wow, 4 seconds a lap, that's really good. But you string it out over 26 kilometers. Well, hang on a minute. Let's have a look at this. The typical racetrack is, let's say, 3.5 to 4 kilometers.
Yep.
I'll just go 3.75. So,
Quick maths with out to line.
that's right. So I'm getting 6.93 out of that. So 6.93 divided by 4, or 4 divided by 6.93.
I've got no idea.
It's going to be some kind of number. It's basically on a regular racetrack, you'd be catching him by 0.5 a lap.
Same equipment. And a half a second a lap quicker. We see that is a fair amount. Like, say someone's lapping half a second quicker or 3/10 of a second quicker than somebody that they're in an actual battle with. That's a fairly decent amount of pace that they're gaining. So, whilst we're saying 4 seconds a lap, that's a pretty good equivalent. Half a second around a normal lap. Or if we're talking about Bathurst, which we often do here at Fans Online, we'll be talking about a second a lap. Second a lap at Bathurst is an incredible amount of speed difference.
Yeah, it certainly is.
But Mack now well and truly in the draft range too, so this will close up incredibly quick.
Looking interesting now. So Marco just topping out, it seems, at about 253 kilometers an hour through this section. 252 thereabouts for Trevor Mack, top velocity through that section. But watch out through this final section of the circuit.
Now under a second between these two cars, so it is well and truly on. Mack. Has looked really strong through this part of the circuit and looked very, very good in draft as well. So wouldn't be surprised to see him close up a fair amount fairly quickly.
Yeah, certainly, especially when you consider, we were talking before about how he's probably got very extreme wings set up on that car. He may be at a slight disadvantage in this section. Having said that, he does look a lot more comfortable than Pentinen at the moment. But once they get to that straight, you'll really see him open it up.
Whoa, that's not the preferred line though. Stay on the circuit.
Yeah.
Don't run out there. It's not ideal being on the dirt. Grass does not have much grip at this circuit.
Or at any circuit for that matter.
That's a great point. Ross Rizzo crosses the line with 2.5 minutes to go on the clock. So he has crossed the line to start the final lap of this race. Got a 58.9 second lead over Josh Nowak. Battle we are watching is probably the closest battle on track, and one that is likely or possibly going to have a positional change in the next little while.
Yeah, it's looking quite interesting here as they come up to mini carousel. Pentinen versus Mack. Oh, yeah, you can tell Pentinen lifted off out of the throttle there on the exit of the concrete.
Pentinen doesn't look like he's got the car hooked up anywhere near as well as Mack does he? Just struggling to just get it planted and being able to get the throttle down.
I could tell as well through carousel, watching both those cars go through it. It looked like Pentinen's front end was just hopping along the concrete. Didn't look very fun to drive at all.
Mac now will start to close up in this final section of this straight. About 7/10 and now starting to drop down to 6. Down to almost half a second. Just also confirming, just been sent a message from Ashley, who is out of the race. He will not get his damage fixed in time. He did confirm with me that he took no tyres at the stop, so that was how he got that track position, how he got that bit of advantage. He knew that he was actually going to let Noack through, he said, so there was going to be no real fight. He was just wanting to hold on for a podium position, and fortunately,
what a shame.
One again for him. Now, talking about this battle for Mac, Mac could actually get 2 spots here. Look at the last lap difference between these 3 cars. Last lap around, Niskanen and 19. Penttinen, we know he's catching, but Penttinen's lap was an out lap, so that's obviously why that's a little bit longer in regards to lap time. But again, 6 seconds on Niskanen last lap time. Only 3 seconds up the road. Trevor Mack could find himself going from 8th to 6th there.
He certainly could. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. We've seen how strong he is across the faster parts of the Nordschleife, which are coming up very, very soon.
Mack really needs to get this done before they get into the Nordschleife as well, I think.
Yeah, he's harassing the back of Penttinen quite a bit through the Grand Prix circuit. You can see he's got a tiny little bit of a run, but he's not going to be able to get it done.
No, but if he gets a good run through the chicane, he might be able to dive into the final corner of the GP circuit. He's too far back now, though, unfortunately, so not going to be able to get it done. Trevor Mack is the one to watch here on this lap. He has the potential to gain 2 spots. We will keep an eye on him in this battle. The car that he is battling for position, not only the car ahead of Penttinen, is only 3 seconds up the road, further up the road. So 3.5 seconds separating 6th, 7th and 8th at the...
Yeah, and I'm wondering if John King might factor into this, or is he too far ahead?
4.5 seconds ahead, but fuel could still also be an issue. Some drivers probably have cut it a little bit fine on fuel as well, and it could be marginal at the end of this race. So definitely not over for 5th, 6th, 7th and 8th. I don't think. It could be a chance of something happening between those 4 cars.
Well, the trailing car in that pack, Trevor Mack, seems to not be gaining as much on Penttinen as I thought he would.
Especially the way that his car's looked in the draft all day. I'm surprised that he hasn't gained as much time in the draft as I was expecting.
Well, I'm sure we'll see once they go around the north side of the circuit what Mack can do.
Clock has hit 0, so regardless of what happens, this is the final lap of the race.
Ross Rizzo has just exited Carousel. That's how far ahead he is.
Have a look at the last lap time comparison between Rizzo and Noack as well. 12.03 versus a 12.09. Nothing separating the first and second cars, and as I said before, it's a real case of what might have been.
Yeah.
Noack hadn't have had that incident early on in the race. It could have been a very, very different race between Rizzo and Noack, and even Norton as well.
Yeah, it's a real shame, but you know, that's racing, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly right. If there wasn't an incident, you never know what Rizzo may have been able to pull out and then done strategy-wise to potentially get a move done. We know how good he is on fuel. I would say, knowing from how good Rizzo is on fuel, I wouldn't be surprised if he was able to pull a sneaky move out in the pit stops. We go back to this battle because Mack is right on the tail now. Penttinen might be able to get a move done. Well and truly in this now.
Yeah, certainly. I just want to Sorry, not to call attention away from this battle or anything, but I did notice that, yes, Cam Dance did have a bit of an incident earlier on in the last lap where he sustained a bit of damage, so...
He's actually under pressure now from King.
He looks like he's in a bit of jeopardy here.
If King can get on by and possibly get Dance and take 4th position away, definitely help King in his championship aspirations.
Oh, side by side, Marco Penttinen and Trevor Mack.
Oh, still on between these guys.
Goodness me, that was some crazy side by side action that was happening there. And
oh
my goodness.
The fence.
Yep, there you go. So it may very well be 2 positions here for Trevor Mack.
We're going to CPR replay of that one because Niskanen into the wall. And that caught me by surprise. I was not expecting that. You see in the background, the 2 cars side by side.
Oh, yeah, it's just
run wide.
Yeah.
And onto the grass. No grip out there. Couldn't keep the car turned.
What happened to Max? Something must have happened to him through carousel because he's fallen back a bit from Penttinen. Yeah, he ran wide.
If we get a replay of Mac through carousel.
Got spat out once again.
Happens
so often.
We go to the front because Ross Rizzo is about to cross the finish line.
Oh, he is too.
Caught me by surprise here, but congratulations to Ross Rizzo. Fantastic drive. That far ahead of everybody, we were not expecting him to be up there. Well done to Ross Rizzo. Josh Nowak will hold on for 2nd as long as he's got enough fuel in the tank. Chris Norton will hold on for 3rd position, but Cameron Dance is under pressure here from John King.
Yeah, and it was around that section of the track last lap that Cam had his incident, so he's really not in a good place coming onto the back stretch. Oh, there we go! Oh, there we go. Once you're off into the grass, that's it.
Oh, he's held on somehow.
Oh,
he's still holding on to the position. He'll probably have to let off the throttle and give up a little bit of time for a slowdown penalty. No, he's not. He's still into it.
Yeah, King just backed off a little bit there, so it's not over.
And
Cam is just.
How is he holding onto this car? I've got no idea. Nowak crosses the line. He's finished in 2nd position. Congratulations, Josh Nowak. Christopher Norton not far off finishing as well, but we're going to stay with this battle because this is intense. I don't know how Dance is holding on. He's understeer central. Had to get out of the throttle, and King will blaze on by. Take away 4th position.
That will definitely help his championship lead.
So King through Penttinen and Mack. We're going to go back to that because we've seen how good Mack has been in the draft. Will he be able to close in time? I don't know if he is. I actually wonder if Mack is struggling with fuel and is a bit worried that if he stays 100% throttle, he'll run out. Because you listen on board, it sounds like he's lifting off a bit.
Yeah, that's probably what's going on here.
Crosses the line. Is in 4th position, but I'm going to stay with this for 6th and 7th. Will Trevor Mack be able to get a move done? This is going to be close.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, better exit for Mack. Penttinen, a little bit of a wiggle, but Penttinen's going to hold on. Just.
Good job. Good stuff from those guys.
Good battle. Well done,
that
guys.
was fun.
Wow, what a race this has been. This has been an absolutely incredible race. I've thoroughly enjoyed this. And we were a little bit worried about the action that we would see and whether there would be a huge amount. This has been an incredible race.
It certainly has. And Adam McLeod has managed to get by Marcus Niskanen, who is continuing to struggle with a car that is less than impressive in terms of handling.
Also in look as well. It doesn't look too healthy at all. So wouldn't be too fun to drive, especially when you've got so much of the lap with damage. He would have done, what, 12 or 13 Ks around this track with damage, but he's done a good job to get it home. He'll hold on from Jake Fox, who will finish. Or Willie, almost into the fence. Goes Niskanen. Just holds on. But what another amazing race that this series has put on. The Major Series always puts on a phenomenal race, and we've loved every single one of the races. whether they've been a slow burner or just been action-packed from lap 1, every single race we've seen in this series so far has been phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think a big part of that is down to the fact that that most everything is different every single round. It's not the same cars going to the same tracks all the time. It's it's a different class, a different challenge every single time. And that,
Exactly
I
right.
think, talk about like being outside of your comfort zone. It's basically out of comfort zone the series.
Exactly right. They're just seeing John Roberts coming into the pits, so he's just going to dive into the pits across in the pit lane. But next race of this series is going to be very, very interesting on about comfort zones. It's one that is well and truly out of almost everyone's comfort series. Head to Charlotte for the World 600.
Oh yeah.
400 laps, Gen 6 cars at Charlotte. I know I've done a couple of 600-mile races at Charlotte myself, and it is tough. So that's going to be very, very interesting. That'll be in 2 weeks. We're just waiting for the last few drivers to cross the line. We'll run through the results, and we'll hopefully get a couple of drivers in for a very, very quick chat. Because it was a fantastic race, and it's just had something happening the whole way through.
Yeah, certain. It was absolutely fantastic, and you know, this is the first time that I've seen like the start of a broadcast race at the Nurburgring. I think this was a night well spent, honestly.
I agree, 100%. We should just see Martin Houston be the next driver to cross the line. I think he is struggling with fuel because he is going very, very steady, very, very ginger. He's just taking his time coming across the line, but yeah, that car will cross the line. A 9-minute lap time to do your last lap, less than ideal, but does cross the line. Ray Partridge will be the next car to cross the line, and that car has looked that sick all race long. Partridge has done a fantastic job to continue on and bring that car home. Jonathan Ben also still out on track, as well as Daniel Stevens. Those guys pushing on. The MFR guys. Stevens and Ben will come home 1 lap down, finish ahead of Ashley, first of our cars that will DNF. But very, very good job from Partridge, who managed to get that car home. And it has looked crooked, bent, broken since pretty much minute number 1 of this race.
Yeah, certainly. So good on you, man, for getting that thing home, especially in 14th position from 22nd.
Daniel Stevens will be the last car to home. He's coming through the carousel now. Taking his time, bringing it home, making sure he finishes the race, because as I said at the start, to finish a race at the Nürburgring is a true achievement, and I know I've never finished a race at the Nürburgring, at least on iRacing.
I might have finished 1 or 2 on iRacing. I have won a couple of races here back in the Racer 7 days, but that was a very long time ago. But Daniel Stevens flashing his lights in celebration, I suppose.
Taking the TV time while you get it. Why not?
Yeah, of course. So through we go underneath the bridge. He will be the last car to cross the line, but as you said, Jay, it's still quite an achievement to finish a race at the Nürburgring, and Daniel Stevens, I think, can count himself among those lucky few.
Officially across the line, which means he 15th finisher in the race. 15th finish. Daniel Stevens, we will now run through race results. Take it away, Reese.
Yep. Finishing in position number 1, car number 898, Ross Rizzo. A dominant victory by 57 seconds over Josh Nowak, followed by Christopher Norton in 3rd. Any of those drivers had a chance to win, and Rizzo was the one to get it done. John King in 4th, with Cameron Dance, a monumental run once again from 23rd and last up to 5th. Marco Pentinen finishing in 6th, a very good result for him as well. Trevor Mack, 7th, another improvement, with Adam McLeod in 8th. 9th, Marcus Niskanen and Jake Fox, unfortunately, slipping down a bit, but rounding out the top 10.
Page we go. We've got John Roberts in 11th, ahead of Andrew Whitehead. Martin Houston in 13th, Ray Partridge in 14th. The last finisher on the lead lap is Daniel Stevens, and we've got Jonathan Ben, Ashley Lear, both 1 lap down. Vas Marty, Joseph Cardamone, and Alexander Sheridan rounding out the top 20. Last 3 cars were Dean Mole, Adam Young, and Robert Northway, who all finished the race early on, unfortunately for them. But tell you what, this has been yet another amazing race in the major series. I love this series. It's been great.
Yep, it's been fantastic, and there were some struggles getting numbers for this race, but it turned out to be a really good one in the end. So if you are interested in competing in the majors series, do sign up, because we've got an entire last half of the year worth of racing ready to go. So it doesn't even matter where you are in the world. There's a majors series for every global region.
Yep, and the next 2 races are probably 2 of the most prestigious ones that we will have on the calendar. The World 600, which of course replicates the Coke 600 at Charlotte. Then for us, we go the weekend straight after. We go back to back. We go to Indy, the Indy 500.
Oh yeah.
The next 2 races will be phenomenal. If you want to be a part of it, head to pacificmajors.com. Registrations are still open. One of the best organized, one of the most enjoyable, one of the biggest series ever on iRacing. So if you are not part of it yet, make sure you check it out and join up. I think that might do us, Race. It doesn't look like anyone wants to have a chat. I think everyone is very, very exhausted, because that was an impressive race. Well done to Ross Rizzo on a phenomenal drive. I think everyone's pretty exhausted.
Yeah, I don't blame them, honestly. It's a very tough track, is the Nurburgring, and I think everyone deserves a bit of a rest, possibly a late night drink after finishing that one. So thank you very much for joining me, Jay, and directing as well. Commentating and directing at the same time is never easy.
No, it's been a pretty full-on few days as well for me. I want to just give a quick couple of shout-outs to Associate Professor Paul Gow, who's been looking after me. I've been very, very unwell lately, so I had a bit of a procedure happen during the week this week, and hopefully we'll start to see some improvements. So I want to thank Professor Gow and also Dr. Mark Goodwin for their support and help with me over the last few weeks.
Excellent stuff. Hope to see you back in full health very soon, Jay.
So do I.
Well, either way, that brings to an end this broadcast. We hope you've enjoyed it, everybody. Thank you very much for joining us. Of course, be sure to like V8s Online on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at V8s Online, and subscribe to us on YouTube. Also visit v8sonline.com for all the latest news and goss from the Australian sim racing community. You've been watching the international division of the Majors Series, the 2.4 hours of the Nürburgring. Your winner, Ross Rizzo, in his Trick Sim Sports BMW. We'll see you next time.